Welcome on, welcome all to Game and Ramble, and this is the Ramble Report episode number 10. Thank you all for tuning in. Lone, we got a kind of an interesting week here of video game news to recap and to cover. Early on in the week, I was like, damn, this is going to be a pretty slow news week. And now at the end of the week, I'm like, this is an absolutely stacked news week. And it's one of those weird news weeks where it's not stacked with any one thing. I mean, we got Ghost of Yotei, which is the probably the big news story of the week, but it's a lot of like smaller to medium sized but interesting stories to go through. So it's one of those weird weeks where we don't have like that big a headline, but we got a lot of little and medium sized headlines.
Yeah, I actually like when there's like a little bit of speculation tied to the news stories where you're able to like try and tackle it from your own. Like you hear it like it's a rumor, but it's not like an out there rumor kind of thing. It's a fairly based in reality rumor, and there's a few of them in there that's kind of fit that mold. And it's
Yeah.
always like interesting to hear where you take that and then where I take that. That's probably like the news stories that I enjoy covering the most.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some good speculation fodder in
Mm.
here, so it's going to be fun to dive into all of that. But I we got our Patreon supporters and our YouTube members who kick off each and every show with their questions. Over on, if you support at that $5 tier, you can ask any question you like, and we shall answer it here on the show. Just search Game and Ramble on Patreon or click that join button on YouTube, and you can submit your questions as well. And that's kind of the fun thing once again. And also shout out, man, these things are consistently growing. Like this is nice. This is wonderful. But that's kind of the cool thing is like such a small community that we're starting off with means that we can answer every question in depth, and
Mm.
it's not like one of those things where there's tons of podcasts that I support on Patreon and they have like Q&As, but they have hundreds and hundreds, like up sometimes 500 plus questions. And it's like they can only answer 10, 15 or whatever. So there's literally hundreds of questions that are just sitting there and have to get cut from the show. And it's like, that's not the case here with this small community that we have. We're going to answer every single question because we absolutely can, and it won't take up too much time at all. So, you ready to get into the show proper, Loon?
Absolutely. Lay them questions down.
All right. So we have our first question here, and this is coming from Giovanni, and this is over on the YouTube membership side of things. He says, "Loon, how are you feeling going into the World Cup next summer? How do you like England's chances? I'm a Mexico fan, and even after the Gold Cup win, I'm not feeling too great, but I'm looking forward to taking my son to a World Cup game. Brandon, I know you mentioned that you don't pay much attention to football." But you do. Do you think you will be tuning in next year now that you're more involved due to rematch? I'm gonna airdrop this damn file to my computer. I'm reading it off my phone, and my old ass eyeballs are struggling. But yeah, Loon,
Oh,
how are you feeling going into the World Cup next summer?
see, this is the funny thing because obviously you're not as in tuned with football, but you usually get when the lead up to an international tournament's on the horizon with a lot of English fans, we kind of wish a little bit too hard. Like with the
Mm.
thing that's always spun around is, oh, this is the golden generation, this is it, this will be the one, it's coming home, and all them kind of buzzwords and stuff like that. For how prominent the sport is for the country, we've only won one World Cup in the history of football, and that was in '66. Like it's been a very, 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 very long time. With Southgate getting sacked, we came close a few times, getting to semi-finals and finals, but I don't know. I've not really tuned in. I know Tuchel's there now managing. I think he's done a few friendlies, and I think they've done something related to the qualifiers, which I haven't tuned into. But I think there was a headline saying that they struggled with one of the last matches that they were performing in. Um, I don't know if that's kind of fatigue coming out of like the final games of the usual season and then ripping them into a international tournament. But It's gonna be strange because we had, what was it, the FIFA Club World Cup hosted over there roughly, because I think the World Cup is being hosted in America, isn't it? Do you know?
I have
I
no
think you guys
idea.
are hosting it, I believe, or it's being hosted somewhere over there. And that climate's kind of really difficult for a lot of European teams to kind of play in, as it's a lot more demanding and stuff like that. I don't know. It can go either way. Like, it's the thing. We have an aging squad, but we also have a bunch of like youngsters coming through, and it's whether or not Tuchel's going to be willing to experiment.
Yeah, I
I'm
have a
gonna
lot of
quickly Google
friends.
that as well,
No,
where it's
yeah, you're
being held.
fine. I have a lot of friends who really enjoy soccer, and I so my thing is like I'll watch it with them, but I don't really know what I'm watching. Like I tune in and I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, they they're kicking the ball and this guy didn't score, and it's like a lot of just very, very novice sort of like I have no idea what's going on. But rematch, now I do kind of have somewhat of a what's the reaction, Loon?
It's being hosted in three countries. That's not usually normal. It's being hosted
Hmm.
in Canada, Mexico, and the US. That's gonna be
Hmm.
brutal.
Yeah.
It's already difficult when you host like within a like one nation thing, and the fixture congestion is already brutal enough. But to be traveling between different countries and stuff, damn, that's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's for me though, it kind of just simply comes down to if I'm with my friends, I'll watch it with them if they're watching it. If I'll probably always be more of a MMA and a basketball guy. You know, the the only way I could really see myself getting into any new sport at this point is if like even then I don't know. I think I'm kind of I'm not like set in my ways old man sort of mindset, but there is a part of me where it's like, damn, it's just even with basketball, I have no idea 99% of the players at this point, and I used to know everybody. I could name you at least the top 7, 8 players on every single team
Mm.
back in like the mid 2000s. Now I couldn't name a starting five, but for maybe 4 or 5 teams. Um, so yeah, I it's just kind of a time thing more than anything, where games take up so much damn time, so much time.
Yeah, how long is like a NFL game, like from start to finish?
15 minutes, 4 quarters, long ass halftime, long ass commercials. You're talking about 3+ hours every time.
Because obviously football was 45, break 45, and then if you're still level, extra time, and then penalties and stuff like that, so they can last quite a few hours. I wouldn't imagine that you would be tuning in, but it's the thing of where if the US end up going really far, it's the type of thing that it usually does encapsulate like that country big time. And even people who aren't interested end up being like, oh, because you feel proud for your country and stuff, making it as far. So I think if the US make it further than they're predicted to, I think you maybe tune into like a match and just be like, oh yeah, cool, that's a gimmick. But I don't think you're going to be sitting there rooting for them in their league phase and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
America is a really weird place because like there is a lot of national pride or fucking there's a lot of pride in our country in like really weird ways, but it's also a really fucking busy country. Like a really fast moving, short attention span. Um, like I can't really think of the last time because we dominate the Olympics in certain areas, like
Mm.
absolutely dominate in basketball and stuff. Nobody gives a shit. It's kind of wild, like to be so good at boxing and basketball and these different wrestling, and like nobody cares at all. And it is kind of weird where you look at other countries where if they have a dominant athlete for one of those sports and they're about to compete for the gold medal, it's like everybody rallies around them. In America, it's like not even a big deal anymore. It used to be, but I think that that's another thing where you just kind of for like with basketball, we've been doing this forever. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like there's not that special thing anymore. So maybe for soccer it could be that.
Yeah, it's also definitely changed as well because I think back to when everything wasn't always like online, when you weren't terminally online, where that's at your
Hmm.
fingertips constantly. Like if even if you're not paying to watch the match, you can gain that information as to what the scoreline is and stuff like that, or you'll see
Yeah.
people talking about it constantly on Twitter. Because I think back to when I was in school, like as an 8 year old, and we were away on a school trip, and they rolled in like a TV set so that we could watch England play. Because that's it. If you were disconnected, there wasn't kids didn't have phones with internet and everything. It was just that was a big special grand occasion. So I think we've lost a little bit of that. Obviously, with things being so easily accessible, so you don't really have that moment where everything else kind of stops and you just focus on that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the weird thing. Like, I don't think we've ever had that.
Oh,
And at
in
least,
America.
yeah, ever.
Man.
Like, they've never rolled in a TV for us to like rally around. The only time I remember that, and this is horrible, but was 9/11,
Mm.
where they turned on the TV and it was like, oh my God. And it seems like America rallies around tragedy more so than triumph, which is kind of sad. Like, it's the whole idea. A lot of people, say, uh, a big problem with American culture is like they wait to give flowers to people until they're in the grave. Like they
Mm.
don't praise people while they're around. And I think there is a lot of that. I think we could benefit from like recognizing and, rallying around our strengths, like rallying around the things we do well instead of focusing so much on the shit that's awful. Because there's a lot you can focus on that's awful, but there's also like a lot of great shit. So it's yeah, I think that that's a, a a pretty major flaw that Americans have. So next up on the dock, we have Captain Corndog, who writes in to ask, what are our overall favorite video game worlds or settings?
Mm.
So for me on this one, favorite setting is favorite setting is a pretty easy one. I love open world cities like a Deus Ex, a Cyberpunk, a GTA, Sleeping Dogs, whatever. That's probably my favorite setting, but for like a specific video game world, that's really tough. I, if I'm thinking about which city, maybe Raccoon City, but it's not all that explorable. You have those little opening sections in RE2 and RE3. RE3 is much more open, expansive, where you can kind of roam around a little bit more. But yeah, I guess I'll go GTA San Andreas, but it's like which area do you pick there? It's kind to me it would be like the entirety of the game kind of makes up the world for me, you know what I mean? The setting for me is like I
Yeah, I
think of
think
it
that's
all
fair.
as like one. Okay.
Because it would be like if you were to turn around and go, if you were to pick Cyberpunk, you wouldn't cut out a sliver of that. It'd be the entire map, as that's that's what you've been given to explore. So I think that's fair for like San Andreas to have
Okay.
the entire map. So
That'd probably be it for me then, because that's just the one that like in my mind is like infinitely on a loop where I know all the beats. I know the gym. I know the burger shop. I know the haircut place, the tattoo parlor, the like, and I can do that for the Vegas sections. I can do it for Los Santos. I can do it for, I know my way all the back alleys around Grove Street. So that would probably be it for me.
yeah, I would struggle to like nail it down because it's obviously I get so invested in worlds and lore and stuff like that. You have like Aora from Pillars, which I fell in love with and just couldn't stop peeling back the layers that the world offered there. And then I'm thinking back to like the things that I fell in love with of Dragon Age and stuff like that, where they're small maps and stuff, but the benefit that doesn't get like given to that and Mass Effect as well is what I want to add is that they give you a massive place to explore. They just break it down into chunks. Therefore, you're constantly getting new areas that you're going to, which is really really cool to have that because you think back of like yeah, the Elder Scrolls is cool, but they kind of give you that one place to explore. Whereas with
Yeah.
the Bioware things, they gave you multiple places. So yeah, and then obviously The Witcher 3 is probably an extremely
Yeah.
strong map to explore because you have all of um well not all of it, but a big chunk of like the Northern Realms that you explore, and then they give you Skellige for free. Like that's crazy to me. Like that you were able to put in Skellige, and then you end up seeing Tucson in the DLC. Um, the only big missing thing is what do you call it? Nilfgaard didn't really feature, which would have been cool to be able to explore. They're obviously occupying the Northern Realms at that time, so you kind of see their culture expanding, but you don't really see the Nilfgaardian cities and then Kaviri as well, which I think that's what The Witcher 4 is going to be set in, if I'm not mistaken, is Kaviri. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of so we'll tie this next question right to it because it's such a different so okay. Sean, aka Physical, writes in on Patreon with a question asking which game would you choose to live in for a year if survival weren't a concern? So it's like such a drastically different spin on a similar kind of theme here because I don't think I would choose to live in Raccoon City. You know what I mean? Like even saying survival not a concern, if it's not a concern for me, it would still be a concern for everybody around me. And so like the people that I, end up building a relationship with or whatever, I'm gonna watch them die from a zombie attack. Like I really don't want to see Mr. X, whatever lady I end up settling down with, Mr. X just walk in and rip her head off, or like you don't really want to pick that as your area to, even if survival isn't a concern for you, it would be for everybody else. So I'm trying to think of like what worlds do I want to exist in that I think look and have a kind of an aesthetic that I would just like to see, but also a place where I don't have to worry about everybody else around me getting killed. But then it's also like I do want, like I think of Horizon,
Mm.
where it's like I'd like to just be able to roam around and look at robot dinosaurs. But it's the thing of,
So are we tackling it as if we were the main character? That's what it means. Then I'm like, is that the mindset? Because if survival isn't a worry, therefore you're kind of in that realm of you would be kind of main character esque, where it's you're not going to be suffering from the usual consequence. You're not going to be some villager living in some random place, because then you would fall prey to stuff like that. The trappings of them worlds.
well, see, I think I don't know. I don't really know because if survival weren't a concern is such a interesting spin on it because that could be that you're just placed in a world and you kind of got to figure your own way around the world. Like you're not Aloy and you have this
Yeah.
extra kit of technology that others don't, and it doesn't give you insight that others don't have. So it is kind of that tough thing of trying to figure out your place in these worlds as well. And I think Horizon, that's another reason I don't know if I'd want to pick it because it's probably really tough. You're in such a primitive kind of mindset. It would probably be tough to prosper and it would probably be extremely dangerous for those around you. But for my own, like, for me to be able to survive and just see the cool shit in the Horizon world and ride the fucking mounts and do all sorts of, like, yeah, that would be dope as hell. But it's still a pretty damn dangerous world for others.
I think I'm gonna go like really selfish and just like not worry about others. Um, like the Remedy universe, just because of how crazy, batshit insane that is. Like there's it's untapped potential. Um, and just yeah, just have a weird trip for a year. Have a weird
That
mental trip.
Yeah. A year of that would be misery, man. That is
Nah,
like
man, it'd be saved. I get to dance with Sam Lake on a show. Give it to me, baby. Because I'm
that's
thinking
like
like I wouldn't want to probably live in a fantasy like realm because it's so miserable,
boring. Yeah.
boring. Um, yeah, because it's all dark and broody and lots of tragedy and stuff like that. So if it's gonna be tragedy in Alan Wake, at least I get a song out of it.
Yeah. Man, that would be like a year of just nonstop hallucination, like nonstop acid tripping for a year. I hate to answer Mass Effect because
It's what I was thinking as well.
yeah, it's like you can use it for every single one of these kind of world scenarios because it is just like limitless potential, limitless
Mm.
possibilities. Hop onto a ship, go wherever you want. And it kind of it's that thing where you're gonna need some chill like downtime if you're staying somewhere for a year. And once again, you hop on your damn ship, pick where you want to go, and you're gonna find somewhere that can provide you the chill downtime. But then you also have your clubs and you're like you can get as wild or as chill as you want to get, but you're gonna need that balance for an entire year. And yeah, man, that would it's the cop out answer for sure because it is just like the galaxy is essentially what you're saying. But yeah, the galaxy would be pretty fucking cool to be able to just explore at your will.
Well, yeah, because I think as you know that could be viewed upon as boring and stuff like that. But you think of like, well, there's a reason we're chasing that in our real world. Is that's a big thing. Just having the ability to go anywhere you want and do anything that you want. It's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, okay, so we got one more from uh physical here. He was like, "Yeah, I'll save this one for next week in case I forget." And I was like, "Yeah, fuck it. We'll answer it here and we'll make you use your damn memory for next week, my friend." Um, it's he says, "Is nostalgia helping or hindering the progression of video game development?"
Ooh.
This is he had another question that was in there that was really I really liked as well. I'd love for him to bring that one back. I think he submitted it into the wrong thread, but it was something to the effect of I didn't write it down, of course, because we're hitting this one, but it was something to the effect of like what is one aspect of video game design that is over relied upon or it was something to that effect. Now I really so it's good questions across the board is what I'm trying to get at here, I guess. But is nostalgia helping or hindering the progression of video game development? What's your immediate takeaway on that?
Yeah, it's hindering it big time. It like I love gaming and I love that we've had this surge because we're always advocates of it. You know, bring back older games and stuff like that that do need it. But that is by doing that inherently taking away that developer from making a new game, and therefore you're staying in what's already been accomplished. You're bringing it forward, and that is important, but it is hindering the progression of moving forward. We're because we're seeing with PlayStation as well. You had that massive stint of just remasters. You think of all if you removed all them remasters and just let people play them other games in their current state and had them work on other games, sequels, different IPs and stuff like that, would you be more happy with that? Like if they were just left in their original states, like so you'd be able to toss a what do you call it? A team over there to maybe polish and tweak it up with a patch rather than setting an entire development team onto it, even if it is a smaller team, but that's still bodies off of it. Like you're not getting another Last of Us, you're not getting another Uncharted and stuff like that. And it's across the board of the industry that it seems to be suffering on that sword.
Yeah, it's so the tough thing is that like you look at the Resident Evil remakes, right? And that's obviously nostalgia induced. Like that, of course, Final Fantasy remakes, all of that is being driven by the yearning for our older self to kind of feel the things we felt when we were kids, but experience it the way we want to experience it now as adults and have it be caught up to modern fidelity, technical performance, gameplay standards, etc. But it is the thing you were talking about where, like, dude, Capcom, they used to make new IP. And I guess they're kind of getting back into that with your Exoprimals and your Pragmatas and your Kinitsugamis. But I mean, those are three new IP that Capcom have made in the last 10, 15 years. Like, have they made anything other than those three in the last 10, 15 years? And those are just within the last, you know,
Few years, if we're
3
being
years.
honest, like Exoprimal, Kunitsu, and stuff like that. They're very recent. So, Capcom went through a stage of they didn't know what the hell they were going to do. Like, if Seven wasn't as good as it was, they'd be in deep, deep, deep trouble.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's I definitely think that I agree that it's hindering for sure. It's hindering new intellectual property like massively. And I do wonder what the fuck we're going to be looking at in 20 years when kids who are growing up now, like they don't have that IP that they're really latching on to because it's not being made anymore. It's just franchises. And so like the new thing when Halo was the new thing, what is the new thing that kids are playing now? Fortnite? Like I don't know, that's really not the world we want to live in. Like there should be something. I mean, genuinely think about this year, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
You have Doom the Dark Ages. You have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which Kingdom Come definitely more so, but in terms of new IP, it's pretty much Clair Obscur and are there any other big games that are new IP that released this year? Like, and listen, I think that it's the difficult thing because it's the nostalgia is helping the industry stay afloat, which is
Yeah,
good, but it's hindering new
progression.
creative ideas. Yeah.
Like that's the perfect way of describing it. It is keeping it afloat because it is the remasters and stuff. They sell well, and they don't really require all that much effort. So therefore, they're good money makers. But that's not pushing the industry forward like you would with how things went from PlayStation One to PlayStation Two to PlayStation Two to PlayStation Three. Like there was constant push. Um, I honestly think as well it's there's so many double-edged swords in the industry as well. The fact that backwards compatibility took so long as well to be established, and they dragged their feet, and it's kind of like stalled almost to get that over the line, and it's impacted other things to get that done. I don't. It's kind of weird the way the industry is at the moment for a lot of things. There seems to be a lot of stop and starting.
It's weird too that like when we're thinking about this, we're thinking about it in the AAA sphere. The more interesting angle might be the indie sphere because you can tackle that from so many different ways as well, where the indie sphere almost wouldn't exist at all without nostalgia, but it's also the only place where new, fresh, creative ideas are really happening. And how that's so funny because like it is pretty much full of Metroidvanias, which are absolutely pulling at your nostalgic heartstrings, full of 2D side scrollers, full of like it's full of a lot of these genres that platformers and
Mhm.
things that aren't being made in the AAA space because they're not viable for 50 plus $1 million, of course. And so they're thriving in the indie space, card games and all of these different ideas, these really fresh ideas, Grand Theft Auto clones, yeah, like these things that really can't be, a GTA clone can't be even made under $300 million anymore and be viable in the AAA space. But you can see an American Fugitive, a Deliver at All Cost, a Precinct, and so it's that those games are pulling in our nostalgic heartstrings, but they're also new and fresh and innovative in their own weird way while not really being innovative at all because they're capturing the nostalgia from our youth. It's yeah, this it's an interesting question.
Mm. I think it's also because they don't have to adhere to. They're not having to pitch that idea, right? Really, when you think like in the same way that you would have to say a Sony or whatever, like you have to convince Sony that this will sell for them to greenlight something. Whereas if they're independent or they're self funded and kickstarted and all this stuff, they can just go with what their heart wants to make, and that's kind of what helps them break through a lot of time for a lot of people. Because you look over at something as simple as I'm drawing a blank on the name, the Oblivion like what was it,
Oh,
Avalon.
Tainted Grail, Fall of
Telegram,
Avalon.
yeah. Couldn't think of the name. That wouldn't be made with a lot of other studios because it would be too expensive. It would ball out of control. But they can just sit there focused and deliver what they want to deliver. And because you look at, there's not been an Elder Scrolls game in over a decade, but that come out in a fraction of the time. So they can be made. They just can't be made with big studios because they're just bad at, I assume, balancing budgets. They just go overboard.
Well, and I will say I do kind of feel for the bigger studios because it's like they're going to be compared to the best of the best. Watch Dogs 2 comes out and it's going to be compared to GTA 5 and it's not going to be compared favorably. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like so when a you'll hear Resident Evil needs to go tank based again, Final Fantasy needs to go turn based again, and it's like guys, they're not going to get favorable comparison like Expedition 33 did. Like everything is going to be nitpicked to the finest little detail. And so it is nice to have the indie space capturing the Final Fantasy style games of the 90s, the Resident Evil style games of the 90s, and they can do it for less than $1 million and make tens of millions of dollars potentially. And like they are absolutely capturing our nostalgia, but also doing new things like Holston. And so yeah, I could go on and on with this. This is a really, really fascinating topic. Appreciate the submission. Physical,
Yep. Can we quickly pause?
yeah. All right. And our next question on the docket here is fuck, hold up 1 second. Let me
Let's
I
pause.
had no, you're good. I had a total brain fart and all right. So the question is, this is from Garrett Sharp on Patreon. I accidentally cut off part of the write-in on my note stock. What is one childhood game that still holds up besides Resident Evil 2? And, and one childhood game that completely sucks when you revisit it. I love the caveat there. And I will say before we jump into this question, Resident Evil is one of those weird instances of I don't think I would say that's a game that really holds up. Resident Evil 2. I wouldn't recommend Loon to play Resident Evil 2 because
Nope.
he's not familiar with that style of play. He didn't grow up. He doesn't have that nostalgia. And I think that's kind of the key defining thing of this question for me is like if holds up to me would mean something I could recommend to somebody who doesn't have nostalgia of that thing and would still enjoy it.
Yep.
So that's gonna be what I got to figure out here. Do you have any on the top of your
I
mind,
want to get
Loon?
the exact naming for it right because it was a very particular one.
I'm my brain goes to like SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. And it's like, but that's such a particular subsect of a community. That's not like something I would generally recommend to anybody, even though I do think most people could get into it and have fun just with the pickup and playability of it. I think it's like right there in that lane of semi enough to represent what you kind of know wrestling to be, but
Mhm.
also arcadey enough to be really fun. So like that's where my brain goes immediately. But what did you have?
So the original, because I couldn't remember if it was the original trilogy or if they did one episode one, two, and three first. But what it was the very first Lego Star Wars game they made was episode
Mm,
one, two, three, and then they put the bonus level of episode four in there. And I couldn't remember if it was the other way around, but it's that. It's from 2005. I believe it was PS2 era.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's that type of thing where like I know they've progressed Lego games and stuff. If anything, they've gotten way too big and bloated. If I'm being honest, there's way too much going on there. But that is something that is a timeless classic. Like you can give that to anybody, and they will just you'll get some enjoyment out of it. And it's not like the humor as well is also timeless because there's no voice
Yeah.
acting in it. It's all mimic and like acted out with motion and stuff like that, and just silly things like that. As for something that doesn't hold up, that's actually quite a big struggle. I think I'd struggle on that because I don't. Obviously, you have the easier things. If there's a lot of PS1 games that don't hold up.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think you can kind of with that, unfortunately, just pretty much that entire generation, like Mario 64, or honestly, like eh, Resident Evil, unfortunately. I don't think those original games hold up well. I don't think you could introduce those to somebody who's never played a tank-based style of game and they'll just jump into it and immediately gravitate towards it. I think that you, really a lot of that era, like games from that era, just kind of keep hitting my mind. But you do have games of that era, like your Crashes and your Spyros and
mm,
things that somewhat do hold up a little bit better, especially especially not so much Spyro does hold up well, but like specifically things that are not trying to do the big 3D, like when I think of Crash 1, um, great example of a game that holds up because it kind of understood its it was respectful of its constraints and kind of played within the lane that really uh they knew they could perfect.
yep.
But then you go to like CTR, a lot of the kart racers like those hold up really, really well. So there's definitely some games of that era that do hold up really well. But even like Metal Gear Solid 1, like I don't think gameplay wise,
No,
most people are going to be able to jump in and be like, yeah, this is excellent.
that's where I was kind of tackling it from as well. Because when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking you have a bunch of new. How I'm like tackling it is new fans that have introduced themselves to series that have gone on for so long that they're entering in like the much later entries and then taking them back to that first one. And like a one that immediately springs to mind is that original Assassin's Creed has aged terribly.
Right.
Something as simple as that, like you said with Metal Gear Solid One, they're great games as long as you're looking at through the lens of its time. Like if you handed
Yeah.
that to any modern gamer now and they had no ties to Metal Gear whatsoever, they probably wouldn't see it through to the end. Um, One I want to kind of shout out, which doesn't is kind of not that's not childhood related, but like Final Fantasy 15 is a game that hyper aged so quickly. I don't know if you played much of it.
Mm-mm.
It's such a weird thing. Like you can get enjoyment from the game, but it's so cumbersome and so rough, and it's a very weird thing where it's like you look back on it and you're like, wow, that is they were fine putting that out then. Like it's no wonder like it kind of struggled a bit. When you put like the nostalgia and the hype for the game finally coming out to the side, and it's like, wow, that is kind of rough. So,
RPGs are a weird thing where like it still feels like they're trying to find their footing, even though they've been around since fucking forever. You
mm.
know what I mean? Since the 80s, and like
Oh, the original Final Fantasies is a perfect one as well with that. Playing that Pixel
right.
remaster was a eye opener. Playing Final Fantasy One, it's like, how did these? How was this like pop? How did this? How was this successful? This is crazy. Um,
But it's one of those weird genres though where like you'll actually have fans of that style still and they want that style still. And so it's one of those genres where you still, and I guess you still see tank-based games coming out as well, but you see things that we look at and we're like, "Holy shit, that has aged horribly." But it's like that's the preference of some people in the genre.
mm.
So the RPG genre like that. We should do like a full dissection of that at some point.
Because it's
This
so
is a total
varied.
tangent.
It's
Yeah.
it's so it's unlike it's weird. It's unlike any other genre because it has so many subgenres that all blend in and will fall under that umbrella of RPG. It's crazy.
because I guess that could be one in here for me where Jade Empire I think holds up really well because once again it understood the constraints and respected like this is what we're going for. We're honing in on one specific thing. Well, I don't know actually. Jade Empire might be a bad example of honing in on one specific thing because they got like shoot 'em up sections and but it was like they weren't over it didn't feel like they were overshooting in terms of like the shoot 'em up sections. It felt like an old school NES game when it would turn into that. And the hand to hand combat was just very listen, it definitely had a lot going on, but it was still fairly simplistic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they really honed in on just a few things, did them well, didn't overcomplicate it, and then had like the really strong writing and yeah, so it's Jade Empire would be one of the only RPGs in my opinion. Parasite Eve I think holds up pretty well. It see that's the thing. There's so many different angles to tackle this from, like narratively as well. Like what holds up narratively because narratives have aged horribly when you go back to some of those older games. It's like, oh my God, the voice acting is so rough. The if there even is voice acting, but yeah, you get like your Parasite Eves and your Legacy of Kains and your obviously Metal Gear Solids and games of that era that really, but then you have your Resident Evils on top of it where it's like, oh my God, especially Resident Evil 1 is horrible, horrible from a narrative standpoint, at least from a writing and voice acting standpoint. Lore is kind of sick.
Mm. Yep.
Silent Hill 1, great narrative as well. I could go on and on with this. I think a lot of the NES games, like SNES, NES, hold up really, really well. PS1 64, that's a generation where you can find your Twisted Metals and Siphon Filters, games that people love. I promise you, if you do not have nostalgia for those games, go try them. Your Tomb Raider, you talked about that recently.
No, exactly. That there you go. That I didn't want to put that because it was saying about childhood things, but that is the perfect example, kind of thing of like me loving the newer Tomb Raider games and being like, yeah, I'd like to see where the roots started. Oh my god, I sat for hours trying to just move in that game, and it's impossible.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of that era where the games that focused on fun first, like your Ratchets and Sly Coopers and Prince of Persia: Sands of Time and I know that's PS2. I'm talking about PS2 here, but just like classics from my childhood, Beyond Good and Evil, like games that are really really silly, really fun. I think
Yep.
those will hold up and I think their art style once again, we could go in a million directions on this, but I think whenever they started trying to tackle like realism in games more, you'll like if you go back and play Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, which is trying to emulate New York City in a more realistic fashion, compare that to Ultimate Spider-Man, where it's like you would much rather go back and play Ultimate Spider-Man just from a purely visual
Yeah.
standpoint because it hasn't aged. Compared to like if you play Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 versus Spider-Man 2 on the PS5, you're like, holy shit, because the photorealism contrasting, like if you compare the differences, you're like, oh my God. But you can play Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man on a PS5 if they remaster that, and you'll be like, yeah, this if you just a port, you'd be like, yeah, this looks excellent still today.
Yeah, it's strange how many different threads that can be pulled at.
I'm such a fucking idiot.
Why?
We just finished off all of our questions, and now I'm just realizing that I didn't put the B-roll in for any of these damn questions, did I?
Nope.
It's all good.
They
It's
get to they get to look at our beautiful faces the whole time for the whole 40 minutes of that intro.
oh, good God. I'm
Unlucky
sorry,
guys.
guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll get that fixed next time. I so the difficult thing with the questions is I write them down, but when behind the scenes fucking shit here, but whenever I'm preparing my notes, I really go in and like I take a fucking lot of notes. And whenever I'm doing it for the news items, like we have specific topics that we're talking about. Like, okay, we're about to get into a Game Pass topic. So we have Game Pass trailers. Whenever I'm preparing the questions, I don't take quite as many notes because I like the kind of spontaneous sort of back and forth discussion. So I don't
I
often
mean,
know what to put in there as the trailer. But I,
well, we'll
I
just
could
moving forward. We'll try and I'll try and scramble and get some stuff. I don't think it'd be that hard to get some of the stuff.
And I think I could grab, like, I could reasonably, like, on some of these games that don't hold up well, like, that's 2 seconds of a thought. Tomb Raider trailers, the remasters, boom, they're right there. It's nostalgia helping or hindering video game development. Final Fantasy VII remake, Resident Evil 2 remake, whatever. World you want to live in, Horizon. Like, so just I could quickly grab those just off the top of the dome. Yeah, okay. It's a work in progress, guys. I do apologize though, because I think that was one of the things I promised. I was like, yeah, we're gonna make sure that this shit, the questions are just as high quality as every topic that we discuss in this show. But I think it's still a fun conversation. I think most people
Yeah.
probably just listen to this as they're playing a game and heading off to do some yard work or some exercise or driving their routes or whatever.
Yep.
Um, all right. So you ready for the news, man?
Absolutely.
All right. So here is where everything kind of we just pick up from last week, and we'll start with the whole Game Pass thing. So the founder of Arkane, Rafael Colantonio, has kind of aired his take on Game Pass. And I'll just read the main beat here. He says, "Why is no one talking about the elephant in the room? Cough, cough, Game Pass." And this was in regards to the layoffs and stuff. And someone asked him, as a developer, what are your thoughts on Game Pass? He said, I think Game Pass is an unsustainable model that has been increasingly damaging the industry for a decade, subsidized by Microsoft's infinite money. But at some point, reality has to hit. I don't think Game Pass can coexist with other models. They'll either kill everyone else or give up. And then the director of publishing over at Larian said, what happens when all that money runs out is the main vocal concern in my network, and one of the main economic reasons people I know haven't shifted to its business model. The infinite money thing has never made any sense. So, all right. I Here's the one thing I'll push back on with this specific quote of I don't think Game Pass can coexist with other models. They'll either kill everyone else or give up. I, that's the one area I don't agree with. Because I don't think developers have to really worry about Game Pass killing everything else. The part of
No.
giving up, like if that's a worry for indie developers or whatever, for having one less option of funding, I totally get that. And I think that is a legit fear because I do think there is a very, very likely future where Game Pass doesn't exist or it doesn't exist as it's currently constructed. But here's the reality. In my opinion, listen, they know way more about their side of the business than I do. But here's the reality from uh, what I would assume Microsoft is looking at this situation as. They wanted this thing to hit 40 million subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my bad. They
A
wanted this thing
hundred,
to hit
right?
100 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted it to hit 100 million subscribers. It's hit 40 million.
Yep.
They're 60% short of their goal.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the future of gaming. This isn't like none of that. The idea that it's just not successful enough to kill off anything. Everything is going to continue going on as it has been. There's nothing to worry about with Game Pass, in my opinion, at all. Unless we get into a future where like there's an all streaming reality and it's an app war on your TV and it's like Game Pass versus PS
That's
Plus versus Ubisoft.
that's
But
hundreds
that's
of
50
years.
years.
That's even
Yeah.
longer. Like we're what I've noticed over the whole of this thing, because what people also turn around and say is that it's damaging and this and that, and that it's failing or whatever. It launched in 2017. Like Xbox has no problem cutting stuff. Like they would have cut something by now if it truly, truly was no, like if it didn't work in any shape or form. Like they've easily backed out things before. They cut their mobile support for things and all this. It's a little bit more riding on it, of course. It's their main selling point at the moment. But I think the kind of shock quote is that they can't exist. I think they can coexist. They have coexist. That's fact. It's not screwed up PlayStations plus subscriptions. Like they're both just existing in that space. They do different things. I think that's fine. Um, it's just the only thing that it really, from what I can see as a consumer, that it has hurt is their first party sales on their own platform. That's the only thing that's really cannibalized because you have things like Claire where people will turn around and go, it cannibalizes sales. Game sold fine. Even though it launched into Game Pass, like it didn't seem to eat into that. Like when people want to buy a game, they'll buy a game. So
Yeah. I mean, Oblivion, we'll talk about it later, is the second
yeah,
best-selling game of the year already.
it's it's the thing of like if people want to purchase something, they will purchase it. And for the people that want to just remain using that system, they will continue using that system.
That's the one thing I will say is like use it while you got it.
Hmm.
Because we have no idea the future of this thing. I will kind of push back on the idea. I do think it is a failure. There's
Oh
levels
yeah,
to the
of
failure.
course. It's not
Like,
they didn't hit their goal. But this is the
right.
thing with big, massive corporations. What people also need to keep in mind: their goals are never usually achievable. You have Square still screaming to the high heavens that they want 50 million, 40 million, 30 for the. It's not happening. You can scream them goals all you want. You'll never touch them.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. And with the Xbox thing, it's why you saw them aggressively. They realized very quickly that goal is 100% unachievable by just locking it down to the Xbox. That's not going to happen. So they put it on PC and then they started exploring elsewhere and they're putting it on Fire Sticks. They're trying every single avenue. I still don't think they're going to hit 100. At best, maybe they push it to 40. It is my fault. I think that's probably the ceiling.
Well, I think it's somewhere around like 35, 40 right now.
I don't see it.
35,
I
40
don't
million
see it growing.
subscribers.
That's what I mean. I don't see it growing further
Yeah.
than this. I think you're going to see because you see like with subscription services, they take massive dips and then they rise again. Like
Yeah.
people unsubscribe when there's a few months of just if there's no interest. There's people who are conscious that they're being billed and will back out of that. Because I think you've done it yourself. You said you've stopped subscribing to certain things and you've resubscribed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I actually have thought about stopping my subscription for Game Pass recently because Tony Hawk has a great physical release, which is I was stunned by that. So
I
I went and
saw that.
bought that physically. Um, and it's like if you have a good physical print, I want to buy it,
Hmm.
you know? I just don't want to buy Avowed physically or Starfield physically or Indiana Jones physically at full price because you there's no data on the disc.
Yep.
Um, I think there I think there actually might be a reality where Game Pass not being successful is potentially more damaging than it being successful. You know, like we've heard the stories about third party deals, like third party day one deals drying up and developers getting paid much, much less now than they were just a couple years ago to put their games in Game Pass.
Hmm.
And like in my opinion, that's you want as many avenues as possible to find funding for your game. And if Game Pass was successful, that would be another avenue where the funding wouldn't have dried up. And, you know, this whole multi platform push, make no mistake about it, that is to fund stuff like Game Pass. That is to fund shit like a $70 billion acquisition to like these moves aren't made out of places of prosperity. You know what I mean? These are moves that's like we gotta make this thing work. Um, and you even see it on Sony side where like you spend billions of dollars on a failed live service initiative. Who knows? Like they're in the need that listen, they're extremely profitable, but like they're still in the need of oh, I don't think they'll put single player games everywhere, but like at this point, I don't know because they have lost billions of dollars on that live service push.
Yeah,
Um,
they'll never. They're very, 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 very prideful in their studios. They would never launch them on a console competitor day one. I will be sticking that flag in the ground, and I don't think you'll ever see that. I think the worst case scenario for people who are doom and gloomy of hearing like Helldivers is coming over and stuff like that, a year. If there was ever a Doom where they had to scrape together money, that would be a year, and then they would maybe exploit. But I don't. Even then, it's the type of thing of where that's the reason they exist. Sony. That's what they're known for. That's their identity. Xbox never really had that kind of identity, really, with really narrative single player. You know, it was. They've never had like Oscar centric games like PlayStation have. Xbox always focused on a lot more arcadey stuff where it made sense that probably should be third platform as well. Like it doesn't make sense to lock that down to a platform in this day and age with like a Gears and stuff like that. That's not enough to keep you afloat. I don't think Gears is enough. I don't think Halo is enough, especially with the way they're handling it as well. That's the even bigger thing is that Halo is in a disastrous state. That's not going to say you can make the best Halo game ever. People have already left the the platform because they've gone to where they want them big, heavy hitting stories and stuff like that. I think Xbox has it in them to create them quick enough to make that turnaround, which they haven't. That's why they went and fucking acquisition. They're just desperate to just make any form of money, and now
Yeah.
that's placed them in a position where they have all of these studios, not enough of their own platform to sell it on, so they have to go that third party route. That's how you make money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there could have been a world, and we'll talk about it until the cows come home because we'll never know. But the theory in my head is like there could have been a world without that ABK purchase where you're looking at the Series X console as like the strongest Xbox console of all time. If you really, it's crazy to think about, but like in a hypothetical scenario, think about what Activision added versus what it
Yeah,
lost
what it took.
Xbox.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because in this crazy hypothetical, let's say the Activision deal goes through, and let's say there's no, everything can be locked down exclusively. Activision has published what, two games in that? Well, Tony Hawk as well. So okay, yeah. That they do have a little bit in some of the back catalog stuff if they were to roll that out, but they haven't really. And that's the thing is it's primarily Activision is Call of Duty. And so Call of Duty in and of itself doesn't add a lot to Xbox. It adds a lot to your bottom line. It makes you a lot of money, but it doesn't add a lot to the console, the Xbox console. I mean, the name is Xbox because of the console. And so this in this world where say that the Activision deal never goes that never happens, and you're looking at Indiana Jones, Starfield, all of what Bethesda added to the lineup, and then all the first party stuff, your Avowed, your Outer Worlds 2s, all this and that. And that's your fables, and probably in this scenario, Perfect Dark still exists. You know what I mean? Because you're not having to make these drastic cuts because you didn't spend fucking $70 billion. You instead of that 70 billion, you spent 80 billion on the AI, but you don't have that 70 billion still lingering there that you're looking for any and every way possible to make back as well. Um, and that's kind of a whole different thing. But your Clockwork Revolutions and all these games, your a Clock Tower, and just on and on. You would have a crazy lineup of console exclusives, and I don't know. It's just it's a really wild world to think about with what could have been without that Activision Blizzard King deal.
yeah. Like you said, hypotheticals, of course. For me, it's just been a pill that I've swallowed a lot earlier than a lot of other people, and there are a lot of Xbox people who have because we've seen the writing on the wall. Like when 2016 rolled around and they launched Play Anywhere. I mean, it's Microsoft. Your parent company is Microsoft. They want to make as much money as possible everywhere. I think that was this yeah that was the true flirtatious beginning of we don't care for console exclusive because we're doing so bad. We'll just go everywhere. And even then, a lot of people also forget this is to a lesser extent. I don't think this was as damaging, but this was the very first step. But back in like 2006, 2007, they were launching games on PC as well under the banner of Games for Windows Live, which they didn't obviously put their whole slate over there and stuff, but it's been bubbling up since then. So I don't know. It's I don't agree with the Perfect Dark thing. I think that was going to be doomed regardless of the Activision Blizzard. That was seemingly so a black hole money sink. I think they would have pulled the plug on it regardless. it just smelt like a similar scenario to like how Scalebound was. Like, there's just not enough progress being made. You won't ever see a profit on it, so I think they probably would have pulled the plug on it. As much as I would have wanted to
But
see that game.
see, that's the thing. That's the interesting thing about this is profit isn't necessarily like a short term. You don't necessarily look at profit only in the short term if you're a console manufacturer, because you're
Oh no, of
looking
course.
for things that can get people to buy that $500 system. And if you can get, 1 million people to buy that $500 system with, 20 different games, then you got 20 million consoles sold because of those 20 games. So it's like you look at shit a little bit differently as a console manufacturer because you want people locked into your ecosystem
But they
spending money on Call of Duty and Fortnite.
but they don't. Is that's the big thing? They don't look at it as an exclusive thing. They haven't looked at it in that light. That's why they've shipped everything everywhere. That's why I'm saying that. Like, it
Well,
wouldn't.
no, but I'm saying in this hypothetical scenario that I'm pitching is like
Yeah,
it
but that
that
would have
that's
had to
the
have
that's
been changing things that happened, like I said, in 2016 and stuff, when they really heavily
not really,
pivoted. You don't think so?
because PlayStation puts their games on PC, all of them.
I mean, that was much further down the line as well after that, and they don't ship them day one.
Yeah,
That's big. That's
I
big things. Like, they don't. I don't even think they know what the word exclusive means, because the things that they lock down exclusively are, you throw a dart. Oh, well, here's a Space Marine 1 remaster. Like, okay, that's
right.
strange. Like, that's bizarre. It's just, yeah, it's Microsoft again calling the shots. And I think people also, we've covered it on here. We need to be more comfortable in calling it what it is. It is Microsoft. It's not Xbox
Microsoft Gaming.
anymore. Like, we constantly use Xbox because it's who they present themselves as, but it's not them calling the shots. Because I can say with certainty, I don't think Phil would have pulled the plug. It doesn't matter how much money, because he's pumped money into stupid stuff before in Deep, and he would have probably happily kept pouring money into Perfect Dark until it was finished. But
Yeah,
it's,
definitely Everwild.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got more to go over with some of the other cancellations that we learned about, but just staying here with the Game Pass thing for a second. And I don't have the full quote pulled up here from Christopher Dring. It was essentially Christopher Dring said that Game Pass first party, development cost isn't factored into the profit and loss margin for Game Pass. And then he later came out and was like, yeah, but it's still profitable, even if it was all figured in. That's why I didn't pull up the full quote. It's like, dude,
It was
I,
very
I really,
messy with how that was
I,
reported.
I like Christopher Dring's stuff a lot. I think the Game Business Show is an excellent like podcast, and I actually like that wing of European VGC, and I listen to their shit. I listen to Christopher Dring shit. I don't know. I like their whole little orbit. I think they got a cool thing going on there. It's much more cynical and more like negative and like not to I don't know. There's a lot of like a lot of American media is very fucking happy and kind of dick sucky to corporations, and I don't know. They just seem to have like a negative slant towards most corporations. I'm like, I like that a lot. So yeah, and I here's the thing. That is important data to know that it's not factored in because I kind of figured that it wasn't factored in. And then I think listen, this is my tinfoil hat conspiracy. What I think ended up happening was he put that quote out. Someone from Xbox contacted him and was like, "But even with first party factored in, it is profitable. Don't forget that part." And what I think, everyone manipulates data. I've said this a
Hmm.
hundred times. It is, and listen, it's Xbox's job to manipulate that data to look as best as possible to the shareholders. They want that to appear as profitable as possible. And they don't even really share that data because I think the more you do share that data, the more investors are going to look into that data and
Yeah, the
go,
less you have control over being very vague and very working around it and stuff like that. You know, it's how they function. It's a huge factor as to why people had their jobs cut is also factoring that in. It's so that they can make the papers look more green than they actually are.
yeah, yeah, it's corporate fucking,
Yeah.
yeah, horse shit 101. And the thing about what I think that when he ended up saying, even with first party development factored in, Game Pass is still profitable. when they told him that, what I assume that means is first party development and like resources for keeping Game Pass up and running. So like servers and for all of the kind of the in-house jobs that they have that are specifically focused on Game Pass. That's what I'm assuming first party means in that context because there's zero chance that Game Pass is profitable when factoring in all of first party development, nor should it be because there's so many other things that like they sell their games third party now.
Yeah.
There's so many different more
I mean,
opportunities to make money off their games.
that's it. You've nailed it. That's why they're able to say it's still profitable, because there's that entire avenue that you would have to be factoring in. Because
Or
they,
not factoring in.
and I think you would be factoring it in, being able to sell it third party, because then that's still consider it. It's being very vague with the terminology. When you're developing the game and therefore you're then presenting it to be sold, that's going to be scooping in money so that it can go back into Game Pass, and then you're considering that as a Game Pass profit. There's very weird ways of, like you say, manipulating data. Um, because it's the thing, like all the money that they're making from selling titles on PlayStation for Oblivion, that's going to be attributed, that's going to be puffed up so that it can benefit Game Pass in some way. So they will happily take that as a W in that scenario, even though when you think about it, they shouldn't be, because that shouldn't have anything to do with it, because it's not nothing to do with it.
So I don't think it. I think what they end up doing, and this is once again just assumption, is they will factor that in completely into a completely different sector of their business. What I think they factor into Game Pass is potential loss on PC and potential loss on Xbox. And then so they have some equation where they're like, okay, we would have sold X amount on PC and X amount on Xbox, but we got X amount coming in on Game Pass, which is more than we would have sold on PC and Xbox a la carte. And
Yeah.
so I think it's so that, and then even with Game Pass maybe being profitable in that realm, I don't think they're factoring in development at all. But I think that there should be some factoring in of development to some degree. Like, I don't know what those numbers are. Like, I don't know what percentage it is. But I think that's where they kind of obfuscate the data a little bit to make it look as profitable as possible, which is once again their fucking job. It's that is what they're supposed to do. I do not begrudge them for that whatsoever.
Yeah, like it happens with every business. Anything that you can think of, you end up rewriting it in a certain way, and yeah, there's so many ways to bend it to make it look good, because you have to make it look good in a public traded world that we live in, where everything is investor based. Because if
Yeah.
they reported on all that and that you just see constant red, no one's going to buy your stock. It plummets, and then you go kaput.
Yeah. And listen, those Rafael Colantonio, what was it, the director of publishing at Larian, like those guys are right. It is an infinite money sort of like it is Microsoft funding it with their infinite money. And it is like a loss leader in terms of trying to make this into something that it doesn't seem like it's going to be the future of gaming. The whole idea that Phil Spencer pitched back in the day, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the way gaming goes, at least not in the foreseeable future. So it is being subsidized. In my opinion, it is something that is like, this couldn't be Xbox. And I think that was kind of one of the hopes was like Netflix is Netflix. Netflix is one thing now. You subscribe to the service, you stream your movies, your shows, that is Netflix. They're no longer in the physical distribution business. They're no longer like, I think Xbox had some hope of, okay, if our consoles go the way of the dodo, Game Pass could be the Netflix of games and it could be
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. But they kind of screwed that up there big time with how they distributed it. Because you think of the with Netflix, the edge it has is you're not buying hardware; it's anything that you own. It took
Exactly.
them so long to get it on so many other devices, so you can't. say that it's going to be the Netflix because you launched it only on the console and then the PC. It took you so long to get it onto these other things. Like it's just a really long rollout kind of thing, which would have also hurt if they would have just immediately been like, "Here's an app, boom." I think that could have taken it a little bit more quicker and just being able to do that. But you can't do them kind of hoop jumping things that quickly. It was just the thing of the way I look at it, his vision is really, really, really good in principle and on paper. It's just you can't execute it. It's just not realistic. It's the type of thing of like if you could wish up something, yeah, that'd be a cool wish to just pluck out and win Xbox and make them, winning again, as it were. But it's just not achievable to do it quickly enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the thing where if we were in that streaming reality, if we were anywhere near it,
Yeah.
that's the only thing if I'm being corporate fucking Brandon here, the one thing I would pitch this as if I was Phil Spencer, if I really wanted to pin my career to Game Pass, would be we're 10 years away from a ubiquitous streaming future, even though we know we're not. Just where infrastructure is improving, fiber optic internet is going to be nationwide, so at least on a US, UK, Western world, this is going to be absolutely achievable in 10 years. We know it's not, but it's still something you could pitch as like a pipe dream to investors, the carrot on the stick. And then that I could see being why they still continue to invest in Game Pass. Otherwise, it's like I think what my most likely scenario for Game Pass in the next decade is that it's either 40, $50 a month because you got to factor in whenever they said they wanted 100 million subscribers, that was 100 million subscribers at I don't know, $12, $15, $10, something of that range. So if they triple the prices and they get to 50 million, well, it's like, hey, it turned out. And of course, they were already accounting for the fact that they would have to raise the prices. So it still wouldn't be quite as successful as they hoped. But I think I think that's probably the pitch. I don't think that it's going. I think that the most likely scenario for Game Pass in 10 years is that it's either incredibly expensive, so people drop out of it in droves, or it's a service that is pretty much exactly PlayStation Plus. A year old first party stuff, maybe the clock tower game, or maybe you get smaller South of Midnights, things that are specifically catering to Game Pass drop day one. I think they'll likely in 10 years or so pull pretty much all of their first party, like their big first party stuff out of there,
I don't
if
think
it's even
they.
around at all.
Yeah, I'll give my take on it. I don't think they can do that. That would be so damaging to what they've sold people on. It will just be a price increase. They'll keep doing it, and they're just going to keep upping it and upping it, and just because what's going to happen is obviously there'll people will unsubscribe from it because it gets too expensive, but there'll be people who stick in and are making that difference up almost. So it makes it not look like it's suffering as much because that's something as well of them whatever the report was, people spending a lot of money on streaming services and therefore like trying to paint it as like a lot more positive light. It's also they're spending more money on it because the prices have gone up. It's not because more people have come in waves and stuff like that, like
Mhm.
millions and millions of. It's not. It's the prices have gone up, so it kind of skews it that way. It's the data manipulation. That
Right.
is it. It just makes it look like it's in a lot more of a stronger situation than it is. Um, and I was looking up because I was wondering like the other stuff that they offer with like Microsoft Office and stuff like that, where they bill people monthly for that, and that's sitting at 18.99 at the moment for their Microsoft Office. So with gaming being what it is, they're gonna keep upping it. It'll go north of 20 in no time. £20. I think it's $20 already, right? In
Yep.
some tiers.
Close to it.
Yeah. So it's gonna breach that 20 mark within a 2 year period. I don't see it staying under that because they have to make that money. Or they have to pretend that they're making that money at least.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow along with it. The one thing I'll say to everybody is you as a consumer, if you like Game Pass, play that damn Game Pass. Like
No, exactly. Like,
it
yeah, because I saw so many people get angry that people are so. It's like it's not your job as the consumer to figure out their bullshit. Like, it's not
hmm
up to you to figure out how to balance the books. You are there as a consumer. Use that product if you want to use it. I've never
yeah,
understood that like mindset of trying to shame somebody. It's there. Use it. What the hell, man? Like, it'd be like going to a restaurant and them offering you a free drink as a part of a
right.
thing. Are you gonna
Fuck that
shame? Are
restaurant.
you gonna shame yourself? Being like, oh, but like I
Yeah,
like this restaurant chain, so I want to like. You're gonna get the free. What the hell is like? Why is this so different with gaming? Why are
yeah,
people so pessimistic over stuff like that? Like, just
yeah.
use it.
Got to keep in mind that we're not talking about mom and pops here. I would understand, like, you leave a big tip at the mom and pop place and you spend a little extra, whatever it may be. But like, if you're talking about you're sitting down at the
The big,
Olive Garden or
yeah,
whatever,
the
and they
big
got a
food
big
chains,
deal,
exactly. You don't think
take
about
that
their
deal.
bottom line. I don't think anybody's ever sat there awake at night thinking, wonder
Now,
if Pizza Hut's doing okay.
well, and it's like I understand as a consumer being concerned about the future of a brand you love and you know kind of looking into it a little bit more and just being an enthusiast. Like everybody who's watching this is much more in the weeds than the average consumer. Like the 40 million people who are subscribed to Game Pass, 99.9% of them do not give a fuck, nor should they. It's totally fine. I don't give a fuck. That's the thing that people, because we're so in the weeds with gaming, people got to understand there. I don't know anything that's happening in film and television, anything that's happening in all these other entertainment sectors. And so like I don't care at all. That's how most people feel about games. They like games, they play
Yeah.
games, but they don't care about the business of it, and that's totally fine.
The amount of films that come out and absolutely bomb in the box office, like really, really big bombs and stuff, and people don't pay it any attention whatsoever. And there's no doom and gloom that Hollywood's going to shut down and stuff like that. It's just they will find something. I'm sure there's money to be made.
But see, that's the thing. There is that doom and gloom. We just don't know about it because we're not heavily invested. So like
I don't
for
think
instance,
they're viewed at like that.
there is. I
I don't
swear
think
to
to that
uh,
degree though.
I
Like,
promise it is.
okay.
It's so like there's a movie podcast I just started watching. It's like the I believe it's The Ring or something. And like they talk about all this shit the same way we do. They're nerds of it. They love this shit. So they're so invested just like all their fans are. And
Mm,
so they're worried about like, these different subscription services and putting out shittier content and not making the profits that they need. They're worried about all the same stuff we are, but they're so invested in it in a way that we're not. We don't know anything that's going on over there, nor should we. We don't give a fuck.
yeah, I was kind of looking at like with like the superhero movies that bombed and stuff. Like people, there's no way anybody's screaming that Marvel's shutting down. That's what I'm talking about with Xbox.
They
They
are.
are.
Yeah.
That is absurd. That's I'm sorry, but yeah, okay,
But it's because they care. It's
yeah,
good. It's good to have the enthusiast market who cares,
hmm
and it's also you got to know as the enthusiast you're in the minority. So like we're speaking to such a hardcore knowledgeable ass base of consumers, as are we.
hmm
But like we got to understand most people don't give a fuck. So when we don't need to be going around and you see someone playing Game Pass and when you're supporting fucking devil worshippers,
no,
you're
exactly,
you're
yeah,
playing.
that, yeah. It's just like okay, man. Yep.
Yeah. Um, but it is it's yeah. Anywho,
Oh,
I love
you've
following this.
educated me. I didn't think film fans were that hardcore for like
They
for
are.
publishers and stuff like that, like Sony Pictures and like Marvel and stuff. So it's kind of just understood that they just have bomb. Like Hollywood has had bombs since the beginning of time. They always find a way to dig themselves out of it.
Yeah, but it's the thing we could go on and on. It's the way they find a way is often killing things and bringing new things in to replace it. So that's what the film fans are so focused on is like what's the genre that's about to die? What's going to be the new genre that replaces it? What's the subscription service that's about to go the way of the dodo? What's going to be the
Mm,
thing that replaces it? What's the future of Blu-ray? And like they get into I love listening to it now. I've only been listening for like a couple months, but I love listening to it now because it gives me such a different kind of it. What it actually allowed me to do is to understand that, because I kind of had that same mindset where I was like, in gaming, it feels like we have a small community of people who are really, really fucking passionate. And like, I have this thought of like, does it make sense to continue catering to such a small group of people and like really diving into the weeds? Because this is what I love. I love diving into the weeds, the business, the data, also the games cover, everything. I love this industry. And I'm like, does it make sense to really get so in the weeds? And then I see their show and like they're having success, like a lot of success doing what they're doing, and they're really in the weeds. And I'm like, okay, I think that there's a market for that. There has to
Yeah,
be a
of course.
market
Yeah,
for
yeah. People
yeah,
want to hear the deeper intricacies because again, it's a thing with like Game Pass. These things can coexist. One just may be less successful than the other,
absolutely.
as is the natural
Well,
order of things.
let's talk a little bit about Halo, the Halo remake.
Oh
The,
boy.
the Combat Evolved remake will reportedly only have a campaign mode, so staying right there in the Xbox lane. Oh shit! Actually, let's back up. Let's back up. Let's back up.
Ah,
I apologize.
I didn't roll the trailer. Good save. What we got?
We should we should talk about some more of these canceled games real quick because there was a lot of news that broke, and right after we recorded, there was a lot of news that broke. So I'll just quickly go over this, and we'll go beat by beat. I'll get your thoughts on everything.
Okay.
Um, so we recorded last week. We knew about a bulk of the layoffs, a bulk of the cancellations, but there was still quite a bit that happened after we finished recording. Um, and a big one here is that Bethesda had a lot of games canceled, a lot of unannounced games canceled, and that's I shouldn't say a lot. Multiple was the term.
Mm-hmm.
It does make you start questioning though, like Bethesda isn't all that large in terms of the studios under their wing. We already know about the MMO that was canceled, the Project Blackbird, I think is what they were calling it, from ZeniMax Online.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what else could it have been? Did Machine Games get a game canceled? They're kind of the only Bethesda studio, right? Or the only studio under the Bethesda umbrella that has recently shipped a game and could possibly be in the early stages of developing another game. So it's kind of making you think that Indiana Jones, there was rumors that they wanted to go back to the drawing board for a follow-up to The Great Circle and see if they can kind of make that into a franchise. And supposedly Disney had interest there. So is that something that got shut down? Was it the new Wolfenstein thing that they were working on? Because supposedly they had two teams working on
Yeah.
two different projects. Did the Wolfenstein thing that was in development get canned? Like I hope not. I hope not on either end. But really, Machine Games is kind of immediately where my brain went, unfortunately, because with id, they literally just released Doom. So I doubt they have anything else that's actively in development. I mean, I could be wrong. They could be doing the Rage kind of Doom split like they did back in the day.
Yeah.
Not back in the day, but you know what I mean, 2019, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, yeah, they don't. There's not. Arkane has Blade. That's not going to get canceled. It's like, what the fuck could it have been?
I would assume, like you said, it's the stuff like that where, for instance, like machine games of indie that just come out, right? I would assume when things start to get to the very end of development, you begin putting together a very small team to start concepting ideas, and that's where I was kind of leaning because that we didn't have any. There's still no information on what it is that got canned at all. So I'd
No.
assume very early concept of ideas. That is it. Otherwise, stuff usually kind of starts pouring out eventually. I know it's not been a particularly long time for that to be pouring out, but usually there's some indication as to what it was, like an action adventure game or like there's nothing, right?
No.
So I would assume it's just thoughts on a paper or yeah, we're going to start funding you for this, and then they've just scrapped stuff. So
Yeah. And I mean, the multiple thing is kind of what worries me is like, did well, what? So Indy could be one, theoretically. I hope not, because that game was amazing in my opinion, and I do think in a world where it launches day one on PlayStation, it probably sees a much, much, much more successful kind of uh turn. But I I'm just trying to think of like what the other thing could be. Multiple to me means three. I don't know why. It at least
Well,
means
yeah, because
three in
it's
my
yeah,
mind.
because it's not it's more than a couple, so
Right.
it's gonna be three or more. But that's the thing. Like, it's what else do they have? Like, it would have to be an established IP or new IP that they were drumming up, like a live service game and stuff. And they've canned that real quick when they've looked around at stuff that they've shut down. That ZeniMax one.
Yeah, so that's one.
Um,
Let's say Indy's two, so we got to find the third.
I don't know. It could be anything. It could have been even been something as crazy as like an Evil Within thing. They still have the IP right, name. They
Right.
could
Yep,
have
they do have the
tried getting
IP.
that off the ground and been like, yeah, we don't have the no power and drive to do. We don't have the passion to make this.
Well, yeah, because right there was like rumor that somehow the John Romero game was tied to Bethesda in some way, shape, or form. I don't know, maybe some sort of collaboration with, because it was a first person shooter. Was it like a collaborative effort with one of with it or Machine Games to some like we really don't know. And I think some of those rumors have been refuted, but thankfully with John Romero, they supposedly do have other publishers who are like lining up trying to get their game across the finish line to sign their game, to publish their game. And after Xbox pulled the funding from it, there was kind of this worry that the studio was going to get shut down and there were going to be a lot of layoffs, or maybe just everybody would lose their job and the game would never see the light of day. But it's looking like the game was far enough along, and the other publishers are seemingly are interested in getting it across the finish line. So that is good news.
It is a bit weird though, isn't it? If it was that far along to can, like, it's just strange when you hear that and you don't know what is 100% truthful. Because if it was far enough along to the point where you could get it over the finish line, does that mean it's just they don't want their name associated with it? They don't want another, like, just as an example, like a Redfall. Like, if it's that quality, they don't want that kind of bad buzz and kind of stuff like that, or like, what is it? Because it doesn't make sense to be that far along with something and pull it if it's in a decent enough state that other publishers are willing to pick it up.
Once again, we're in the Microsoft era. Like
Yeah.
they're canceled that supposedly that Project Blackbird game was fucking sick. That MMO from the ZeniMax team. And that's a team that like they just they bang. They make good fucking shit consistently and have consistently supported Elder Scrolls Online to like the highest degree. People love that damn game. And so you don't give them the chance to go out, and supposedly that was another one that was really far along. Um eh,
I'm a little bit less hot on that because it was when it released, it was really, really, really bad, in a really bad state. Like, it's only been in the past few years where they've really got it off the ground with that. So then maybe they're looking at it through the lens of, we don't want you launching another thing that's going to take 10 years to get off the ground with it being this expensive for that. Because you have stuff like New World and stuff from Amazon, I believe, the MMO.
yeah,
That struggle and stuff like that. And they're very, very, very expensive MMOs. But when you do get the ball rolling, like you do with ESO, when you give it enough time, it can just be an infinite money milker. But it's just having the funding to do that and giving them that time.
I think when you're talking about Bethesda games getting canceled, when you're talking about Tango getting killed, when you're talking about like we're just in the era of like
Yep.
I wouldn't really attribute quality to any of the decision making here, like lack thereof or high. Like I don't think that a game getting canceled by Xbox anymore means that it was bad. I think it just means Microsoft came in and was like, "Hey, we need this number down. Get the number down." And Phil's having to make really tough decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and this is kind of where we're led, unfortunately. I do think that some of these things probably were really expensive, and I think that's probably the
Yeah,
primary
that
reason.
yeah, that's the would be if I was in Phil's shoes. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how good it is. It's make that one big cut so that you don't have to make 10 other cuts and stuff like that, and have it really, really start affecting other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it does not seem like a lot of reports are coming out where like morale is in the
Oh
fucking
yeah,
toilet for their first party developers.
yeah.
Um,
As you would
yeah,
expect, because it's the type of thing of like, because we're obviously trying to look at it through his eyes and try and empathize with him having to make that tough decision. But when you go in earlier in the year and be like, man, you're doing a really good job. This coming along really well. And then your project is dead within less than half a year. Well, then nothing you come in and say to boost the troops' morale means anything anymore. Like, you can come in and say pat on the back, but is that just the Reaper touching your shoulder? Like,
exactly. Yeah, and it's the thing where I was kind of the mindset that Xbox was starting to really flow. It seemed like they were really getting it in order and understanding first party management a little bit better. And I think that that probably is still true. I don't want to a big thing that I see in games coverage a lot is anytime something negative happens, it's like it has to all be negative. And that's not the case. Like they are firing on all cylinders, at least for Xbox, in
yeah,
terms of their publishing. Like they're having more success as a video games publisher than ever before. Like there's no doubt about that. But at the same time, it does seem like leadership is it just it seems like that would be a miserable work environment. And so I do understand that, like every day thinking about, oh well, this could be my last thing that I work on here, and I could lose my job and all my benefits. And so I get why morale is in the toilet. I'm not trying to excuse that, but it did seem like if it wasn't for the Microsoft kind of era pushing in, you don't want to excuse, like I said, your Phil Spencers and your Matt Booties or whatever. They've done a horrible job long before this, but it's it seemed like they were kind of starting to get it together, and now it's hey, we're cutting like hell to make room for this AI initiative. But
it is weird, isn't it, to be doing these cuts now. I don't know if you feel that way as well. I just want to pick that like avenue quickly. It, would you not see the generation out and then make sweeping changes? Like why? Unless because the only reason I'm thinking that you're making them cuts now is that you're going to take that next generation seriously, but you don't inspire confidence that you're going to be doing that.
no, I don't think
So
Xbox has anything to do with anything. Like I don't think
like just
they're
leave
just
them
cutting
be.
heads.
Yeah, just leave it be to the end of the generation. Then like it's crazy, man.
It's so here's the thing that worries me is I think they're going to do this every fiscal year. That's the scary part. Is that it comes around this time next year and it's multiple studio closures, multiple cancellations to make more room for AI, to make more room for it's Microsoft initiative first and foremost. Whatever they want done is what's going to be done. And with Xbox being one of the least profitable wings of
Mm,
Microsoft's overall portfolio, and it's so expensive, they're like cut this because they were disproportionately impacted to a crazy degree at Microsoft overall. I think that they were close to 2,000 layoffs at Xbox directly. And there were only 9,000, only 9,000. But in terms of the percentage share, 9,000, 2,000 of the 9,000 were from Xbox. That's a fucking lot. Like, I
yep.
think that's, if I'm not mistaken, by far the largest layoff run in the history of the games industry
Yeah,
was last week.
yeah, I would imagine so. And it's like we said, only the beginning.
Yeah. And I guess we'll kind of quickly wrap up on this because I know we're going long as fuck here. So I made reference last week about third party games that I think they're supporting that are going to get canceled as well. Contraband, the game from Avalanche, no longer has a trailer available on the official Xbox YouTube page. So I think that's one. I last week I was like, I don't really want to specifically
Yeah.
say what I'm talking about because I don't want to be playing with people's jobs like that. I'll
Yep.
go ahead and fucking say the other one right here because it got debunked, or it got my worry kind of was remedied a little bit. OD was the other one I was thinking of,
Oh, okay.
where I was like, I think that those two are going to get canceled. That's what I thought last week. It seems like one might be getting canceled, and then Jez Corden.
Yeah.
But do keep in mind with Jez Corden, he's a big fan of Xbox. Um,
I've
and
noticed.
so yeah,
Scrolling through Twitter, it's like, okay, probably wear
it's
your
a
heart a little bit less on your sleeve. So I get it. It's my platform as well, but let's be trying to be sensible.
yeah, it's uh, I there's a part of me that gets it, and there's a part of me that's like, come on, man. You got some good access. You've done some real heavy hitting journalism before. I think he's a reliable source for most things, but sometimes when it comes to like Xbox specific coverage, it's like you can tell that there's a love there that might outweigh the sensible part of your brain, which you kind of understand that at times. Like I'm probably that way with physical media. Um, and so yeah, he reported that OD was for the time being still, still going strong. That OD is still gonna come out. The Xbox partnership with that. There's rumors of it being a cloud game or whatever the hell weird shit. I hope it's just a third person fucking horror game or a first person horror game, just kind of a continuation of PT. We did see some sort of third person gameplay or third person snippets from leaked images, so be cool to see like some Silent Hill vibes with that. But I, I think that there's a big part of this where they're just like, we can't cut a Kojima game. We already have such a black eye in terms of just our relationship with Japan in general. Scalebound and Phantom Dust, and then the MMO on the original Xbox that they were, I forget the name of that one, but they've had a lot of these
Yeah.
cancellations from Japan, like every generation, big Japanese games that they're touting and then they cancel them. And it's like, you probably don't want to do that again, especially not with Kojima. Like the Kojima in this entire industry, he's probably the guy, I would say.
Yeah, it does worry me though, because like you said, it's in years past, maybe I wouldn't have been worried about it, but now
Yeah.
they've done the cuts they've done now, so he's safe. But next year I could see him making that chopping block and this is the thing as well. It's what got him pushed out of Konami a lot. That was a massive reason is that he really, if he wants to take his time, he takes his time, and it's expensive when he takes his time, and it's the type of thing where like if he's gonna do that, he'll be next. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter about the name associated with it or like you said, we're thinking that you'd want to build relationships with Asian regions, but they would happily just cut it. Unfortunately,
Yeah. Um, I feel like we talked about this a good bit last week, so there might not be much need to open this can of worms again. But just quickly, I don't know if you saw the developer who was working on Perfect Dark came out and was like, "Hey, no, that people are saying that that shit wasn't real gameplay. That shit is real gameplay. Like we worked hard on that shit." Um, and so he kind of he goes on. He's like, it is a vertical slice. You do have to play that game in a specific way to get it to run the way that it's running in that
come
trailer,
on.
or things would break. I mean, but that's not uncommon. They've been doing that
No, but
forever.
that you can't say that's the actual game when it's like that's a very early precise build of the game. That's not because that's
That
the
is
big.
the game, though. That's
But
gameplay.
yeah, but they're saying it has to be done this very specific way. Then is attributing to the fact that it clearly wasn't far enough along. That's the big thing that people were bringing up an issue of. Is that that's why it got canned. Is that it's so early on.
I don't think that's why it got canned. I think it got canned because they're cutting every fucking thing, and it's just an expensive big ass game.
That's very early on in development. It goes hand. It's two sides of the same coin. It's very expensive and not enough was done, so it's very easy to convince yourself to cut it. Is my fault.
Yeah, but I constantly go back to like, where does Phil Spencer and Matt Booty, like where is the accountability on their end for that? Like I just think that's the crazy part.
Yeah, no, they should be for it is they're going there, their green light. It was their whoever spearheaded to put that as what was it, the initiative is what it was called?
Yeah.
Whoever's idea that was, yeah. They need to take accountability. They it's shocking that they didn't get anything in, I don't, well, we don't know. Maybe they did get bonus cuts or whatever, but I highly doubt it. But they should be suffering just as much, and we covered that last week. They
Okay,
shouldn't be.
they got pay raises. It's
Yeah,
fucking
it's BS.
yeah.
You didn't do a good
Um,
job because if you did a good job, you wouldn't be making these cuts.
but you know, they're I I think something's going to come out about that game in the future, and like I think that that game was probably going to be fine eventually. Crystal Dynamics, they're not going to come in and like Crystal Dynamics would have got that game out the door. The whole initiative thing, that seemed like a disaster. And that's once
That's
again a Phil Spencer Matt Booty thing. That should be on their fucking hands.
that's where I think that's what I'm saying with it being not far enough along. It's got nothing against Crystal Dynamics because they put two Deus Ex games out pretty quick.
Well,
Oh
they're
no,
the
not
Tomb Raider
Deus Ex.
people.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Tomb Raider. Sorry, with the Tomb Raider games, they put them out really quick, and they
Three
were
of them
very
bitches.
efficient. It's
Yeah.
this whole head of big group of people that you've grabbed together and just expected them to hit the ground running. That's probably where things have. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
difficult to do that. You can't just throw money at a studio and have them immediately pump stuff out. It takes time.
Because like BioShock, they had a BioShock game at an E3 a while ago that was in that same state where if you did anything other than exactly walking the direction that they told you to walk, the game would break. Halo 2 back in the day, the Battlefield 4 crash, Cyberpunk, E3 2019, 1 year before the game shipped, had a heavily scripted demo. Like these things aren't that uncommon. Vertical slices have been around
Mm-hmm.
forever. I I don't know. I don't know. I think there's a part of me once again that's just biased because like that's one of the very few games that they had from their first party partners that I was like, "Oh, that's some me shit." And so, I don't know. It just it really it's a major bummer. But let's kind of go on to something positive before we kick out of this. We got so much more shit to cover. Uh there was once again Windows Central, Jess Gordon reported that everything from that showcase this year is all gonna is all untouched. Like they're still on track to release all of those games, and the none of those games are necessarily impacted or getting canned because of this round of layoffs and cancellations and all of that. But I don't want to doom and gloom nonstop, but you remember when Xbox said that everything in that like 2022 or 2023 showcase was going to be in Game Pass in the next 12 months, and I think they missed like
Exactly.
60% of those.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I, that's why I wouldn't feel comfortable in being in his shoes saying something like that because that's a very egg on your face moment waiting to happen. But it's his job. I don't envy him.
I don't either. And I don't, the weird thing is like, I don't think they're funded by Microsoft. I think this is like independent journalism, but it just doesn't at times read that way. Hey, it is what it is. I, let's see, going through my notes here. Yeah, we're running long as shit. Let's go ahead and we'll head on to Halo and
Mm-hmm.
keep this kind of pushing because boy, we're we got like 10 stories left. All right, Halo Combat Evolved, the remake that is in development, the remaster, whatever you want to call it, reportedly will only have a campaign mode, so no multiplayer in the Halo Combat Evolved remaster, which is interesting. That's an interesting thing. I assume this is going to be a full price game or at least a $60-$50 game. If they try to charge 70, $80 for this, that's gonna be very, very interesting. But I guess hey, it is the thing. You're releasing it for the first time on PlayStation. You're seeing that those motherfuckers they buy up your games in droves. You give them a bare bones version of Halo Combat Evolved and charge $80 on it. I mean, hey, I don't necessarily think it's a horrible business move, but it's absolutely a horrible fucking anti-consumer kind of
Yeah.
shitty tactic in that front.
Yeah, it was a little bit puzzling, but we've seen this time and time again happen with, especially if it's going to be a remaster more so than a remake. You think of the Mass Effect trilogy thing; they cut the multiplayer from that. When you re-release old games, a lot of the time they do end up cutting the multiplayer moving forward. So it's not as big of a surprise for me. The only difference is though, is that a lot of people's love for Halo is because of that multiplayer. They love
Exactly.
the story and stuff like that, but that was where they created their memories. So it is a bit surprising. Maybe it's something that they launch it as just the campaign, and then if it sells very well, implement in a multiplayer as like an update thing. But yeah, just very strange. Especially like you said, it's going to be a big slap in the face if they turn around and go $80, please.
Yeah. So this is coming from Insider Gaming. New details about the Halo Combat Evolved remake have emerged from Reb's Gaming latest YouTube video. In the video, he also shares updates on Project Icure, Halo 7, and addresses some rumors surrounding Halo Infinite. Starting with the Combat Evolved remake, Rebs first discusses publicly available information. Halo Studios stated that most of what they showcase for their Unreal Engine 5 research project Foundry is expected to be included in the projects they are currently developing. The insider feels that Project Foundry is clearly based on Combat Evolved. And then Halo Combat Evolved is reportedly campaign only. Rebs Gaming then shared information he received from two sources connected to Halo developers regarding their Halo Combat Evolved remake. Sources have revealed that the development of Halo Combat Evolved Remake began in 2023, with a planned anniversary project set for release in 2026. It has also been noted that Halo Combat Evolved Remake will feature only a campaign mode and may potentially be released on PlayStation as well. Let's see. In terms of multiplayer plans, Rebs Gaming has reported that 343 Industries canceled Battle Royale mode for Halo Infinite, known as Project Tatakana. Ta- yep, has been handed over to Certain Affinity. The game development studio has been rebranded. It is a separate multiplayer game using Unreal Engine 5, which is currently codenamed Project Occur. Rebs Gaming then refers to a recent post from a Halo data miner named Grunt.api that teased a title ID code for a game. When asked about its significance, the source confirmed that it pertains to Occur and indicated that the game has been receiving updates approximately every 6 hours in the past few days. In the next segment, Rebs discuss Halo 7, the upcoming mainline installment in the series. Based on his exchange with the Halo community manager, he believes that Halo 7 is currently in pre production and will likely be an indirect sequel. However, players should not expect the game to be released until the next generation of consoles has launched. So, all of that. Any big thoughts there, Loon?
Um, I don't want to go back to being negative, but it is with Halo being involved right now. I just don't see them digging themselves out of their hole. Like they, since Bungie jumped ship, they just haven't been able to recapture what made them original games appeal to the mass audience. Like I enjoyed Halo 4 and 5, but there's tons of people that didn't, and they've backed out, and they've just seemed to struggle since. Like Infinite was a mess, and it still is a mess. I can't remember if I've covered it when we've talked about it. The multiplayer doesn't work still, so I'm not surprised they're cutting it out of Combat Evolved's re-release, whatever that's going to be, because they can't even get Infinite to work properly. Like they launched a, what was it called, a firefight mode into Infinite like fairly recently, and I was like, yeah, I loved firefight from back in the day. Ended up booting up, and it just doesn't function. Like the menus don't load, your character doesn't load. It's in a really messy state. So I really have zero uh, confidence in them to do anything with it. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's down to their own mismanagement or if it's funding issues, if it's what like I don't understand why it, this is the third game that they put out with Infinite and they still are struggling. Surely you would have found your footing by now. It's just very strange.
I think the idea of single player Halo is a great idea on paper, but it shouldn't be combat evolved. It should be like a spin-off thing. Like a single player horror Halo game, like a fucking
Yeah,
first person Dead Space. That'd be sick.
I've said that before. I don't know if I've said it on here. I was talking about like looking at over at Alien Isolation and stuff like that. Giving a game like that, that would be a cool thing to set in the Halo universe. They're just so they're so attached to Master Chief, as if it's still like a platforms are sold by mascots kind of thing. Like, but they don't believe in exclusive. It's just a very weird thing. They just don't move away from him really all that often. So yeah, I don't know. I personally would have dumped him after Halo 3 and just there's a massive expanded universe out there. Tons of things they could touch on.
I yeah. I mean, we'll we'll go ahead and fucking skip this next thing. It's not that it is a big deal, a bigger deal than I thought. Fuck it, we'll just cover it. Atelier Ryza, the Secret Trilogy Deluxe pack is coming everywhere on all platforms except for Xbox. So just staying right there in the Xbox thing. Um,
More
this is
negative.
yeah, this is becoming more and more common, unfortunately. And when I first saw this, I was like, "Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It's this is I don't know anything about this franchise." And then I looked into it. I was like, "Oh shit, this is not a small franchise at all." The
Yeah, it's a
trilogy
fairly
has
big
sold,
one.
yeah, it sold over 2 million copies between the three games. So Um, yeah, the developer never released a game on Xbox until their last game, Atelier Yumia,
Yep.
and yeah, gotta assume it sold really
Sold
poorly.
like crap. That I don't think any selling figures have been out there, but yeah, that it didn't do well at all. You can see it from like the Microsoft Store reviews and ratings and stuff. That is very very low. Hardly anybody's interacted with it. So I don't blame them for skipping it. It's just a very weird thing to give up after one entry. It feels like, especially with you, like you said, it's not like a small series. It's that thing where you'd probably need to put a few more out there to help it get its footing, but they don't seem to want to do that.
I don't think so, man. I think if you get the data back on you put one out there and it doesn't do well, and you look at the resources that you have, it's like if it's going to cost you more than it's worth to do it, then I mean, I definitely understand from a business standpoint. I do think the one positive here is that with the next Xbox pretty much being a Steam machine, you'll have access to all of these games. Like they'll all be available through Steam. Even if developers choose not to release their game on Xbox, you'll technically still be able to play them through Steam. So,
Mm-hmm.
guess that's one positive spin on it. It's not the positive spin that you Xbox necessarily wants to hear, but it's a positive spin for the consumers, I guess.
Yep.
All right. Next story up, we got the first PlayStation 6 game in development currently. I actually I heard this on Sacred Symbols and I went and looked into it a bit. So Firesprite, the makers of that Last Horizon VR game and the Persistence, the horror VR game, are now creating a legit like console video game. And they're hiring for a driven planner with a background in cinematic production. And then they go on to describe the job details a bit more. And they hammer home like cinematic 75 fucking times, which uh, is a good sign in my opinion. At least it's not a live service thing
Yeah.
like they're trying to hammer home story focused, story focused, story focused.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, let's see here. Firesprite Games, the British PlayStation studio responsible for games such as Horizon, Call of the Mountain, The Persistence, and The Playroom, is currently recruiting for a new AAA project with a strong focus on atmosphere, narrative, player agency, and immersion in innovative territory with next generation technologies. So, not really any information on what the style of game, the genre, or anything like that, but The persistence, I will say, actually looked pretty cool, and the Horizon VR game looked cool as well. But I think about the persistence and think about PlayStation's kind of lack of a big survival horror tentpole franchise. They, assuming that The Last of Us isn't going to come back, um, or at least isn't going to come back for a while, and then they killed Days Gone. So it's like that'd be interesting, like a sci-fi horror thing. Dead Space is kind of out of the market at this point. A AAA, maybe up close first person, because the melee combat in that Persistence game looked really good. Maybe a first person melee combat centric survival horror. I don't know. So I think it'll probably be a bigger, larger scale thing than that just from the details here, but I'd be kind of down for just a Dead Space style game.
Yeah, I think we've touched upon. I don't have any interest in VR, so for me it's a big W to have a team now go back and make games that would actually appeal to me. That's it's gonna be. I'll be blunt. That's a selfish take, and I'll take that on the chin. But to me, that's a win because I just don't see VR being something that is so expensive, and it just doesn't. If we're talking about people want to entertain Game Pass being bad for the industry and like impacting things and stuff like that. For me, VR should also be in that conversation because it's so expensive and it just doesn't sell well. And it's taking so many developers away from where they could just make games that will help them. And hopefully this is going to be something that they can establish as a series and there you go. That's your safety net for the end of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think Game Pass and VR are kind of in that same bucket of like we looked at it at the time as like, oh, this could be the future of
Yeah.
gaming, and then just ended up people just had no interest in either. Um, all right. Next up, Techland canceled two unannounced games that were early in development, but they're seemingly canning those in order to focus on a new Call of Juarez game. Would you ever expect to hear those words in 2025? So this is shocking to me on a number of different fronts. I didn't even know Techland still owned that IP. I thought Ubisoft owned it.
No, I think they published it, didn't they, Ubisoft? It was always owned by Techland, I believe.
Interesting. I did not know that. That's fucking hilarious. I love this news. I knew they were working on an unannounced fantasy game, but I would much rather play Call of Juarez, like a new Call of Juarez. Are you kidding me? Like, especially now after they've kind of mastered the first person movement. Um, uh, I don't know. Techland is kind of one of those studios where anything they put out, I'm gonna be interested in.
Mm.
I could just like parkouring off of a fucking rooftop of a saloon, shooting a bandit in the head, falling into a bale of hay. I don't know. Like I think that they just make fun ass games, and I think this would be a fun ass setting for them to explore now that they've really got like they have their foundation. They know what they do well now.
Yeah. Yeah, because this isn't the Techland of old that made, the cartel. Like they've grown since then. So they would definitely be it would be more akin to the quality of Dying Light 2 and stuff like that. So it is interesting to see where they would take that. I don't really do we have any first person westerns?
Not
I don't
really. I
think we
mean,
like especially now like you have I can't think of any. Like there's some that are like third persons that come out small indie games and stuff like that or isometric games, but you don't really see first person.
no. Yeah, no, I mean, Dying Light 2, I think that they were so ambitious with that initially. Like I don't remember E3 2018, 2019, whenever it was, but they were showing off some crazy shit. And I was like, "Oh, that's their magnum opus. That's what they're really trying to hit the home run on."
Yep.
I don't think they quite hit that home run. They definitely got on base. Like they definitely scored, but it wasn't the home run smash, out of the park 400. Like it wasn't that big thing that I think they still have that in them. I
Mm.
truly believe that there's some game. I don't know if it's going to be their fantasy thing. I don't know if it's going to be this. I doubt it's going to be this, but I think Techland has something in them over the next 5 to 10 years that is going to be that thing that
Yep.
really sticks, and they're actually able to nail that ambition and properly scope that correctly and be able to really hit their dream.
Yeah, I think it for me personally. I think it will be that fantasy game if they end up keeping it afloat and it doesn't get cancelled and stuff like that. Obviously, with that caveat, I don't think Call of Juarez will be the thing.
No.
It's commendable that they're going to go back to that, but I don't know. Like you could get crazy with it, like if like a Evil West kind of thing. If it starts going supernatural and stuff like that, where you can get because that's the thing. While I'm looking at fantasy, it gives them so much more freedom with their wackiness that they're known for, with their weapons that explode things and stuff like that. Just solely relying on shooting has never been their strong point. They've never made shooting feel good, really. Even in them Call of Juarez games, they were a little bit stiff in some of them, and especially in Dying Light 1 and stuff like that. Like it was not good feeling. So I think it'll be their fantasy game that will probably be their biggest success.
Makes you wonder, like, I wonder if there's some world where they're gonna incorporate fantasy elements in here and you're fucking spawning tornado spells with one hand, shooting your
Hmm?
gun with the other, and you got a tornado that's ripping through a saloon and you're seeing like all the wood and debris fly. Like, I don't know. That's such the Western 1800s, whatever era. There's so many cool kind of environmental effects that you can get away with because it's not overly concentrated. It's not overly populated.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So you can kind of pull off a lot of these cool environmental crazy stunts and not have it look totally out of place. Whereas if you were to run a tornado through the streets of Manhattan in modern day or whatever, and it's just going to be hard to pull that off on a technical front. But
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some cool shit they can do with environmental destruction.
Yep. Absolutely.
And yeah, I think they fucking their first person movement and first person melee, like
Oh yeah.
other than Avowed, they're better than pretty much like I think that's kind of one and two. I don't know which order you would go, but that's the best feeling first person melee I've ever felt in a game. Those two. And now we got some Fallout news. So I this is coming from VGC. And once again, I was giving them praise earlier. VGC doesn't typically fuck around. Um, and I should say this is coming from Jordan Miller. He was on the podcast with Skill Up, the Friends Per Second podcast, I believe it's called,
Hmm.
and he was saying like there are Fallout things in the works currently, and like the Fallout thing that his quote was. I don't remember if this is the verbatim quote, but it was essentially the Fallout game that you want is in development. And so people are kind of, is it Fallout 5? Is it Fallout? I think he's probably referring to Fallout New Vegas, something or remake Fallout New Vegas 2.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think
if
it'll be
you,
a
if,
new entry
yeah,
just
I
yet.
think when you say the game that you want,
Yeah.
like the general you population, it just seems like the game that you want is Fallout New Vegas right now, something Fallout New Vegas related. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd go even further and just say that's obviously very very vague and very safe. That could also just mean the Fallout game that you want, as in we've seen Virtuous do amazing things with Oblivion. I don't think it
Mm,
would take them all that long to do a free and New Vegas thing. So hitting it both, if you preferred free or New Vegas, I think they could get them remastered and polished up pretty quick and a decent turnaround. Because I don't think Oblivion took them all that long to get done. Um, so I think that could be the thing. But an actual new entry, I think that's very very far out. I'd be very shocked to see them announce that. And I think they've learnt their lesson with the Elder Scrolls because since they've announced that people are hounding them and they have nothing to show. So just keep that quiet, give 76 its updates, and that's what they've been doing. Um, I also think as well, it kind of their eyes were completely open by how successful that TV show was. I don't think they
yeah.
probably thought that was going to be another Halo thing, where they put that Halo TV show out and it did nothing. They put that Fallout show out and they were like, "Oh shit, people actually want this. This is our like Last of Us. Hell yeah." We don't have anything to put out though. So now they're
Yeah, once
scrambling. That's
again.
that's the thing. It's just poor management. It comes back to that. It's that
Yes.
poor, like, have faith in your product, because what should have happened there is at the bare minimum have Fallout 3 remaster ready to go. Like, it's crazy. It really is.
Because it doesn't even matter if the show is bad. Like Borderlands saw an uptick in players after the movie.
Exactly. Exactly.
It just reminds people, oh yeah,
Yes.
I actually like those games.
Because
The
if
movie
they,
sucked, but I like those games.
that's the point. If they leave the showing, like with that movie, if they leave the theater and they're like, man, that sucked, but they have Borderlands on their mind, they're going to go and want to play Borderlands now. So therefore, they will go and buy Borderlands if they don't own it, or go and play it again and stuff. It's just that kind of, you'd think is very very obvious. They just seem to get so wrong a lot.
Yeah. And Jordan Midler did say that like it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be a ways out until we get these things, which that kind of once again makes me think. All right, so you want my theory on this?
Let's go.
I I think it's Obsidian. They
Okay.
just released they just released Avowed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bunch of people that are, shifting to work on their next game. Outer Worlds 2 is going to drop in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Grounded 2 is about to enter early access, and just like Grounded 1, once it's fully released, the support will kind of slow down a little bit each month, each year. And so there's going to be they're in a position now where they're going to have a lot of free jobs available because they have 3 fucking games releasing this year. So they're going to get to work on their next thing. Their next thing, like I think it's Fallout New Vegas 2. And maybe, like you said, in the meantime, yeah, it would be smart to have Virtuous make a Fallout 3 remaster, remake, Fallout New Vegas 1 remaster, remake, whatever. I think we're going to get a Fallout New Vegas 2 or just something, kind of. I'm not saying it's going to be that name, of course, but,
Yeah, I feel, yeah. I don't know if we'd ever have like a name. They were so coy with not allowing them to touch it for so long. They wouldn't.
Microsoft era.
No, that's my point. That's the big change, isn't it? Is that when they're turning around going, I don't care how you feel about it. That this
Yeah.
show's making money. We want to make money. Give them the thing. They're the people that made it originally. So that kind of just thinking, just give it to them. Because I was always for it. I didn't understand why they were so defensive over it. It was very strange handling of it. Like, I get that you don't want to be shown up on your own game and stuff like that, but come on, man. If it's a success, it's good for everybody. So I would like more than anything a sequel. That'd be cool because I still think they're the best at making Fallout games. Um, but I think more than likely it will either be them assisting somebody with a remaster and just getting that out as quickly as possible.
And once again, those VGC dudes don't fuck around. Jordan Midler, like him saying that, I put a lot of weight on that. So
Yep.
man, cannot wait to possibly, hopefully one day see that and hope to God that it doesn't get canceled before it releases. All right. New footage of a leaked Batman Beyond game is out there in the ether. I thought about running it here, but I was like, am I gonna get fucking flagged and the video thrown off YouTube if I run? I don't know. WB's fucking weird. So I don't have the footage here, but I'll kind of explain it to you real quick. It's not much. It's very, very early in development footage. You got your Batman Beyond, the black and the red. He flies in. He's got a motorcycle. He kicks a. Or no, actually, he flies in. There's I think it's Croc or something. It's some fucking villain on a motorcycle. He throws the villain off the motorcycle. It's super. It's 20 seconds of footage. It's nothing really worth seeing here. It's just kind of more the idea of, oh damn, there was a Batman Beyond game in development.
Mm.
Um, and listen, nobody has any faith in WB. Very few of I can't even say I have faith in Rocksteady, but I would love to see a damn Batman Beyond game. And I know the rumor right now is that they're remaking Arkham Asylum, and I, that just seems so fucking boring. Once again, I get it. A lot of key talent left. Rocksteady is in need of a morale boost right now. But
Yeah.
an Arkham Asylum remake, like, sure, that'll get them some positive reception, I guess. But is anybody clamoring for that? Like, I'm sure people will play it, but is that what people really want to play?
No.
There's a remaster of it.
That's what I was. it links back to what was it, Physical's question, where he's saying, is it impacting? It is. This is the type of thing that it impacts. Like that nostalgia for that's just the easy route. Throw them onto that. The only positive outlook I'd have on it from the developer's side is that they can look at how that game is made and pick apart its strong suits when they go and make their own game. That's the only thing, is that when you're getting through to see it under the hood and how things are reacting and how it's been built and stuff like that and why people love them games, maybe you can then get used to how that was made and bring that forward. But other than that, it's just boring. We already have these games available on modern platforms and they run well. It's not like they're struggling to run and they need to be brought forward further. But yeah, it's Rocksteady. A lot of the big names people left, right?
Yeah, Sefton
So
Hill and
yeah,
yeah.
so it's probably for WB the safest option. So yeah,
And I mean, I assume the developers at this point, they're just happy to have a job, and I
yep,
get that. Like I told, especially in the current climate, like some job security is better than, hey, okay, well, I'm making a remake. It's not necessarily fulfilling, but it's something that I'm able to do, keep my job. It's gonna release, it'll do decently well. People love the original. As long as we don't fuck that up, it should be fine. I just hope that if it does come out and it's solid, it sells somewhat well and they can kind of have this reinvigorated spirit and get some funding for
yeah,
something new. Because I think we're in this era of like very, very, very little risk because the when you're talking about 300 plus $1 million budgets, the return has to be so significant. And I this is a weird kind of thought, but I wish we would do so like that Telltale Batman game. It would be really fucking cool, in my opinion, to like we do our remakes, our remasters. It would be cool to reimagine that, where Rocksteady goes in and they keep all the story exactly as is for that Telltale Batman game, but they like splice in combat for the in the Telltale game when you have the QTE sections. Imagine if it was just Rocksteady style fucking Arkham Asylum style combat in those sections. So you still go through, do all of the choices, all of the decision making, all the branching, all of that still happens. But in those sections, instead of having QTE combat, they design like little mini levels where you have actual combat. Like, nothing crazy, little 30-minute things. And it might make the game instead of 8 hours, it makes it 14 hours, 12 hours, whatever the case may be. But how many people saw that Telltale story? I would imagine less than a couple million. It wasn't some huge hit for them. And that's an excellent Batman story. Like some great origin stories there for the Penguin and the Joker and um Harvey Dent. Like there's some really good story beats in there. And it would just I don't know, to have actual combat. Like I really think that something like that would pop, man.
yeah. It's what people when they started announcing remakes and stuff. That was the whole point. Is that you'd have something. It was akin to, obviously it's a lot more budget for it, but that's the big thing as to why Resident Evil 2's remake was so successful. It built off of really strong original core components, but tweaked it. So that's the whole point of them types of things when you're doing it. But they've got very, very safe with just making a remaster, upping a resolution, raising a frame rate, and that's it. It's and gamers are starting to really get sick of that. You saw it with the Space Marine 1 remaster. They're offering refunds. The game's fine, you know? It's fine, but it's something that you can see it's a cash grab. It's the lowest amount of effort that they can put in to bank and ride off into the sunset the goodwill of the players from that second game. So if they just go back and just remaster Arkham Asylum again and just don't really put any effort in, people aren't going to buy it really as much as they would a something new, something a little bit different, like your idea there. That would be enough to get a lot more new people through the door because they'd be like, hell yeah, That's cool. That's interesting.
Well, and it's like even if it wouldn't be enough to get new people or more new people in the door, I think of it in this way of it could be a scenario where okay, we're gonna green light you to work on something, but you're getting $20 million. You're not getting $100 million. You're not getting $300 million. $20 million. And then it's like, I just think weird shit. I think more weird shit needs to happen in the AAA space to see if like can we fund this $20 million project, make $200 million out of it? That way, we're not having to fund a $300 million project and needing to make $900 million. Like these kind of smaller bets in the AAA space, but you're going to have to tinker in weird ways. So I know that's a fucking weird tangent that probably makes no sense to any developer out there listening to this, but that's where my dumbass brain goes. Matt Piscatella at Circana shared some sales data with us. We have the top 20 best-selling games of May 2025 to go over. But first let's talk about kind of some other data on here. And I saw this from it's the same, compiled by Circana as well, but I saw Shinobi on Twitter uh, trim it down and make it nice and concise for my dumbass brain to go over real quick. Um, So year on year, total spend increased by 1% in the games industry. PS5 sales increased 3% year over year and was the top selling console. Switch was number two. Xbox was number three. Xbox Series X and S sales dropped 30%. Uh, fucking A. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how that's possible. Um, I mean, I guess I know how it's possible. Like that's a number where you see those numbers so consistently. You're like, did they just stop production of these things? Because like even the Xbox One at this time, 5 years into the Xbox One's life cycle, it was having like year over year percentage increases from time to time. Like it wasn't total.
It
It
came.
wasn't thirty
It
percent declines.
didn't it come out that they were pulling stuff out of Europe, or was
Oh
that
yeah,
not
that is right.
confirmed? So
I don't
like
know.
that doesn't surprise if they're not putting them in in areas and location they just won't sell because they can't be purchased. So that doesn't surprise me, but it's the thing of where they probably think, well, what's the point? They're not selling anyway. That's also a
Yeah,
way of cutting back business. So yeah, that doesn't shock me as much, but that doesn't shock me as much, but that is shocking of a number if that makes sense.
right. And I mean, it is a thing when you tell people not to buy your console, they're probably
Yep,
gonna fucking listen to
yep.
you. But to be fair, they stopped production of the original Xbox back in the day, if I'm not mistaken, pretty like 2003, not three, 2004 maybe. Um, and then that was they got the 360 out there quicker, and then we're trying to get to a new generation quickly to convert people over before PlayStation got to launch, which was really successful for them. But let's see, Nintendo Switch sales dropped 44%. That's, we're just talking about the Switch 1 there.
Yep.
The Switch 2 released in June, so it's not going to factor into this data.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not all that surprising. This is really surprising. PS5 console split in terms of the version that was bought. 51% of people buying the disc console, the standard disc edition of the PS5, and 49% going with digital. Xbox 21% disc console, 79% digital. The I think the thing here to factor in though is that the PS5 console, the like when you're factoring in all the sales, that includes Pro, which are digital only, and then isn't the Slim is digital only as well, right?
For the
Or no, 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 no,
PlayStation.
no. I don't think so. I think the Slim does have a disc, but they do have the
Mm.
digital edition that's $100 cheaper than the standard edition with the disc for PlayStation. So you're talking about the Pro, which is digital only, the digital only base console. So you got two consoles going up against one when you're factoring in all of these sales. Because they're not going to include, like, they're not going to go through and say, okay, well, this person bought a detachable disk drive. So that
Yeah.
makes the PS5 Pro now a disc variant. Like, that's not factored into that. So it's technically two consoles being sold against one, and the one is outselling the two, which fucking wonderful news. Let's see. Subscription spending in games reached an all-time high at 600 million. 600 million. Like
Is that for
that doesn't
that's the year, right? Is that what that's saying?
that no, that's a month, which that
Oh, a
seems
month.
really
I was
that
gonna
seems
say that.
low.
Um,
Because isn't Game
30
Pass making like
million Game Pass roughly. If you used to go on the lower end, how many is? Are they not like? Because Plus is,
it's the same. I think Plus is a little bit more.
yeah.
So, okay, let's say 30 million times, let's say 15. Might be even a little high, 15. But yeah, that's 450 million right there.
That, no, that does kind of make sense then, because I don't see a lot of Nintendo people engaging with their subscription stuff in the same way that PlayStation and Xbox have it. And then you have what GeForce now and stuff like that. They're small
But you
numbers.
got World of Warcraft, you got Fortnite, you got
Are they really? Is that being included in that? Because
I would assume so.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. Because then you'll have to be including in like Final Fantasy 14 online, all these
I
other.
think all of it is.
That number doesn't. That has to be then. It's the thing where they're reporting on the data that's public then, and the
Oh, right, because
because
Game Pass
that's
data isn't even public, I
because
guess.
there's no way that that's including all of like subscript because that's yeah.
I need to, yeah, I'll look into that before we report on it next month. That way I have a little bit more information on that because 600 million does not seem right because PlayStation and Xbox combined would
I
be over
think is about
600 million, I would think.
well, I think it would probably be at 600 million roughly thereabouts in its current state. Um, that's where I'm getting that from. That's what that feels like ish.
Yeah, that's just weird. I don't know. Yeah, I need to look into that more. Um, let's see.
That is that to highlight it though is obviously worth touching on. That does seem a lot because with how many chips a lot of these companies are putting in their bag, that does seem low. You'd think that should be at least a billion a month by now
Yeah,
across the
for
board.
sure.
Like that's a bit strange.
Yeah. And listen, it's good, I guess, depending on how you feel that the numbers are going up. I I know that a lot of people don't agree with me on this. I do think it's good to have these things. Like I think sometimes I'll say something and people think that I'm being negative because it's my belief. But like when I say I don't believe in Game Pass or I think it's failing or whatever, I don't want it to. I love the fucking service. I loved Blockbuster. I didn't want it to fail either. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like you just kind of got to look at things from a slightly more objective standpoint sometimes. And like I from my perspective, I do think these things are probably good as a supplemental option for the industry. I think it's good to have the lower price point entries
yeah.
to for
It's good.
kids and for everybody. Right now, everyone's fucking struggling.
So I was about to say it's good for the consumer. It's not good for the businesses. And yeah, you like you said again, use it while you can. That's it.
Exactly.
Just make use of it.
And that's Matt Piscatelli saying kind of he thinks it's primarily due to just how hard it is to get by day.
Yeah.
Uh, so he's thinking that's why subscription spending is going up because it's a little bit of a cheaper. That makes total sense. All right, let's get in. I know we're running long as fuck, guys. I'm trying to speed up a little bit here. May 2025 US top 20 best-selling games, physical and full game digital. Okay, so the top 20 best-selling games, um, physical and full game digital from the Nintendo eShop. Wait. Do they track digital sales from Nintendo now? Physical and full game digital from the Nintendo eShop, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC platforms for publishers in the digital leader panel ranked on dollar sales. Okay, so maybe they are accounting for. Nintendo's. Oh, nope, here it is at the bottom. Digital sales on Nintendo platforms not included. Digital sales on Nintendo and Xbox platforms not included. Interesting. I didn't know Xbox didn't submit their. Why don't they submit their digital sales?
Because
That's
they
really
don't
fucking weird.
sell copies.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
It would be very, yeah. I'm not surprised they withhold that information.
I thought they used to. I don't know. I be having a brain fart. Okay. So the top 20 best-selling games. Number one, we have Elden Ring and Night Rain. Number two, we have Doom, The Dark Ages. Number three, we have Forza Horizon 5. Number four, we have Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. Number five, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Number six, we have MLB The Show 25. Number seven, we have Minecraft. Number eight, we have GTA 5. Nine, NBA 2K25. 10, EA Sports FC 25, 11 Assassin's Creed Shadows, 12 Star Wars Battlefront 2, 13 Split Fiction, 14 Red Dead Redemption 2, 15 F1 25, 16 Helldivers 2, 17 The Last of Us Part 2, 18 WWE 2K25, 19 Capcom Fighting Collection 2, number 20 PGA Tour 2K25. So obviously the thing that's going to jump out to everybody there is that Battlefront 2 is in the top 20 best-selling games of May 2025, jumping from 135th place last month to 12th this month. That's fucking crazy. Um, I'm assuming that's mostly due to Andor's huge success and just kind of the May the 4th celebration and stuff like that, and then people being in that Star Wars spirit around this festive time for Star Wars fans.
Twitch and YouTube, man. I've said it time and time again. It had a massive spike up in people making content for it. People like Jack Frags and everything highlighting like when he gets people like a million people viewing his video, and then they turn around and go, "Ooh, I want that. I want to." Like you see somebody play something and it's fun. It's impressionable. People go and buy them copies, and usually they're on sale as well. Of course, with Battlefront 2 being so late in its life cycle, it's probably very easy to get on the cheap.
I gotta I hate to be I everything is fucking negative with me. I gotta figure that out. So my negative brain immediately kicks on and I'm like, damn it, damn it, damn it. EA is being proved right. They're being proven right here. The whole thing was we're canceling all our single player shit. We're focusing on live service. The with long service, the live service game have legs, and we can monetize these forever. And this comes back and pops off, and you're not seeing Star Wars Jedi Survivor in there. You're not seeing Jedi Fallen Order in there. You're not seeing any of that. You're seeing damn Battlefront 2 come back, and it's like, well, yeah, that is that I'm glad that it's having a resurgence because maybe that could get a Battlefront 3 across the I doubt it. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I doubt it. I actually could kind of see something like this pushing EA because it is right, once again, right in the wheelhouse of what they want to make. Live service, infinitely monetizable shit. But I do kind of wish that maybe one of the other Star Wars games cracked the top 20 so they could have been like, oh yeah, we got to fund a couple of these single player things. And yeah, you saw the Bounty Hunter, the Mandalorian style game from
Yeah.
Respawn. I believe it was Respawn get canned. It's like, that's my dream game, man. I want something like that so bad, but I think we'll probably get a Battlefront 3 way before that.
Yeah, it is on the unfortunate thing. That's why I was drawing the comparison with the YouTubers and Twitch streamers that they play these games when they start getting legs because people come in droves to watch it. You don't see outlaws on that list, do you? At all?
Right.
There's
No.
just there's no drive for single player games to usually pick that up. Very rarely will you have an instance where it's like The Witcher 3, where it had that second life thing. Um, You'll probably see it again with Cyberpunk when Edge Runners comes out. You probably see a massive spike in sales for that, but that's so rare for that to happen. Unfortunately, for a single player game to get a boost of that kind of magnitude that a Battlefront 2 would get.
Probably the craziest thing on here outside of that is Forza Horizon 5. Sitting there at number three, it was number two last month. that is selling millions and millions and millions of copies. Um, Golly, it's
Think about that effect that has on PlayStation as well, though. Just to quickly like pluck
yeah,
that is that when we're talking about oh exclusivity is damaging, they're the one that's on their platform. They see them numbers. It doesn't matter if Xbox hides it on their platform what they're selling. That's being sold on their platform. They're like, holy shit, this thing's selling crazy. That's making a lot of money. We're taking 30% of that money and we're making shitloads of money. Like
yeah,
it's the thing, it's the temptation, isn't it? If you want to bite into that forbidden fruit, as it were.
right. Yeah, and I mean you're seeing that they are PlayStation with Helldivers 2 to that's not necessarily what I think live service games because they're already doing marathon is this going to release everywhere. I don't think that that's as big a deal, but you're seeing it's so weird to say this, but I think the bigger deal is like Patapon and everybody's golf. You know, those are coming out this year and they're coming out on the Switch day one. Same, like those are both, and I know that it's not being published by PlayStation. Bandai Namco's doing the publishing, but those are first party owned IP from PlayStation that is releasing day one on the Switch too. They're
Yeah,
not coming to Xbox, but it is coming to the Switch too, day one, and PC as well.
you had Lego Horizons as well. I know it didn't do well, but
Yeah.
that's the Horizon name, man. Like that's it's
Right.
crazy that's a time that we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would not at all be surprised. I said it last week. I would not at all be surprised to see more like uh you know Ratchet and Clank come to Switch 2 and I think they're going to be flirting with that Switch 2 quite a bit because you're going to have it's the thing where Helldivers makes a lot of sense for Xbox because it's an Xbox kind of centric game
Mm-hmm.
and live service I think you got to put everywhere. I have a tough time seeing them ever put anything on Xbox like day and date or I really I have a tough time seeing them put anything single player ever on Xbox in general, but that next fucking Xbox is going to be a Steam machine. So it's like it's going to be playable there regardless and so that's going to increase their sales, their bottom line either which way.
Yep.
Um let's see here. Do, 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 do. Uh, so Forza Horizon 5 being still in the top 3, it is worth like there's not a bunch of big games that released in May. There's only 4 new games on the chart altogether. And we know that Doom wasn't like a mega seller and it's number 2, so it is a little bit below Doom, but that's still, regardless there's no way to it's selling millions and millions of copies over there on PlayStation. Um and then yeah, you have Night Rain at number 1. I'm curious to see how high it will be
I was about to say
in
that.
the
I
in the
don't
final list.
I don't think that's gonna stay there for very long. It's the type of thing where FromSoft fans and Souls like that are very rabid, but when they do change a lot of the formula, they do drop off really quick, and it's all spread through word of mouth. When they don't like something, they end up backing out because it's done a thing where there's a massive wedge, kind of like with what Sekiro happened. Sekiro was very successful, but it drove a wedge in. There's tons of people that loved it, tons of people didn't like it. Unfortunately, I'm falling on the side of I didn't really like Night Rain, so even though I bought it, it's going to be something I'm not going to be probably going back to.
Because like with Elden Ring in 2022, this is crazy. That was the second best selling game of the entire year,
Yep.
beating out Madden, which
Mm-hmm.
is an anomaly for single player games. And then we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but Night Rain right now is sitting at 11 for the top best selling games of 2025 overall. So I think it'll maybe climb to 7. I don't. I think it might stay kind of right around where it's at. So it's
Yeah.
definitely not having Elden Ring success, of course. But still, I mean, fucking best-selling game of May. That's like millions and millions of copies. Once again, at least a couple million copies moved.
Yep.
And then Assassin's Creed Shadows still doing really well. A couple months later, hovering right there around that top 10.
They always do. They
And
always get like absolute shit thrown at them. Ubisoft and everything, but it's like Valhalla and stuff like that. It had very negative people spinning around it, but they're just games that just constantly sell. They kind of just trickle throughout the year when it's released, and then they turn around and go, "Yeah, it's sold this many millions." Like how? It's like well, it's a lot more casual oriented than hardcore gamers. Like the people that pick it up on sales, the Black Friday sales, and that's when you see the massive spike in copies shifting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a game that those style of games, they just have there's some of the very few single player games that have extremely long legs. Um, man, Microsoft, 5 of the top 10 best-selling games of May 2025, and 4 of the top 5 best-selling games of May 2025 they own. That and the digital sales on Xbox platforms are not included. This is like straight up just third party money.
Yeah,
Um,
like go back 10 years, scrub their name out, and put EA there, and that's what you'd be looking at.
right,
Like that's the status that they're at right now. So
man.
yeah,
And it's that's the thing once again why I try my best to not like overly doom and gloom everything because this is evidence that they are as a publisher really doing fucking well right now and it's like as long as Microsoft doesn't invest another $100 billion next year and cancel everything that's on the docket for 2026 and beyond it's like they are kind of getting in their groove a little bit like let them cook man it's such a bummer that all this is happening right now.
yep,
um all right, so let's talk about best-selling games of 2025 year to date real quick.
yep. Can we
We
quickly
got
pause
number
for 1 minute?
yeah.
Cool.
All right, back in. We're going over the best-selling games of 2025 year to date. Number one, we have Monster Hunter Wilds. Number two, we have The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. Number three, we have Assassin's Creed Shadows 4. We have Call of Duty Black Ops 6. 5, MLB The Show 25. 6, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. 7, WWE 2K25. 8, Split Fiction. 9, NBA 2K25. 10, Civilization 7, 11, Elden Ring Night Rain, 12, Forza Horizon 5, 13, Minecraft, 14, PGA 2K25, 15, GTA 5, 16, Doom the Dark Ages, 17, EA Sports FC 25, 18, Red Dead 2, 19, Madden NFL 25, 20, Marvel Spider-Man 2. So, Monster Hunter being at number one is no surprise. It'll definitely end up, top 5 at the end of the year. Here's the thing. Like the this is crazy. Oblivion is already the second best-selling game of the year. Dude, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to
Yep.
bang. That shit is going to say if they can just channel whatever this is right here that people are feeling, if they can I
Starvation.
once
That's what it is. It's Elder
yeah,
Scrolls starvation. What have they had to eat other than Skyrim remasters?
golly.
That is it. It's a rabid fan base.
Shadows at number 3, man. Like you said, those games do not fuck around at all. Those motherfuckers move units. Kingdom Come at 6 is massive for a team of that size. Warhorse has to be happy with that.
Yep.
But I'll admit something on my end here. I'll take my L. I thought KCD2 was going to end up at like number 3, 4, 5 range by the end of the year. Like I thought this was going to sell 15, 20 million units in a year. I thought it was going to be that big breakout for them. It still looks like they're going to have to get out of the Kingdom Come verse to find that big breakout hit. That team has it in them. They're so talented, but they got to get out of this medieval,
To be
this
fair, you did that like before Oblivion came out, before we even knew it was going to be coming out. If
true.
that didn't come out, I can assure you that those people would have trickled in their months and it would have climbed a lot quicker because there isn't something like you have Tainted Grail that came out, but I don't think people would have flocked to that in the numbers that Oblivion got to Tainted Grail. It wouldn't have done that. I think that would have been the thing is if Oblivion didn't come out, I think KCD2 would have seen a lot more upward trajectory. Not that it's obviously downward. It's just kind
No.
of it's the type of thing of where In the same thing, like Monster Hunter Wilds, you said is number one at the moment.
Yeah.
That's going to begin to start falling very, very soon. It's not going to stay up there. There's going to be things that are going to be coming out that will probably muscle it out over time. Um, Especially with how the updates have been going for it. It's not good to be opting in right now. It feels like with Monster Hunter. So yeah,
I know we're running long as fuck, and I'm sitting here about to go through a whole different diatribe. It is 2025, the rest of the year, like it's solid, right? But massive games other than Yotei, but that's one platform. Like I'm trying to think of what's coming out, and then with digital sales not being accounted for with the Switch. I mean, still Mario Kart physical alone will probably be up there, but College Football 26 will definitely be in that top three
the
range.
new
Call of
COD,
Duty,
yeah, the new COD will be the.
yeah. Um, but yeah, just kind of looking through Madden will go in there. NBA 2K, of course. Okay, yeah. You start getting into that boat. But I'm kind of trying to think of like outside of that realm, what else could possibly crack in this range? Maybe like a Borderlands 4 should probably be somewhere in that Monster Hunter Wilds territory, maybe a little bit below, maybe a little bit above.
I think that'll fall below it personally. Um,
Ghost of
yeah, I don't
Yotei
know.
could.
That's what I'm thinking. Like in years past, I would have been like, no, I think it would also fall short. It's not. This isn't a dig at PlayStation, but they haven't had like a really strong running. Like you're
Right.
talking, what have they put out this year?
Death
That,
Stranding 2,
but that's very niche, isn't it? Like that's a
totally.
niche title that will sell good copies, but it's not going to be muscling in there. So I think there's a big rabid. It's gonna
Ooh.
see us if look, man. If Shadows is up there, there's no way in hell Yotei isn't going to be up there, even with it just being a one platform thing. Like it's a Sony first party cinematic game. These things
70
sell like
million people.
fucking hotcakes, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean you're throwing it into an install base of 70 million people. Like it should be okay.
mhm.
Yeah, it'll probably crack somewhere in the top 10, I would
Yeah,
assume. No, not top 10.
I
Top
think it'll sneak
It'll be
in
in the
though.
top 20.
I think it'll sneak in.
Okay.
I think it'll sneak in. There's enough rabidness about it. There's been a ton of obviously as you'd expect with Twitter as it is, where people are fucking sitting there nitpicking. It looks like a PS4 game. I don't think so. I
I don't know
think
what PS4 game you played.
exactly. This is exactly, and it's just like I think you people are being extremely disingenuous. I don't know if that's just fanboy culture and just that whole stick, but it looks like a game that's going to do incredibly well. You're kidding
So
yourself if it isn't.
let me ask you this, Lone. So we're going to be coming back here next month, obviously reporting on the sales for June. Death Stranding launches in June. Do you think Death Stranding will be number one for the month of June when we're looking at the data? You got to remember Mario Kart also launched in June, but they don't factor in digital sales. So the weird bit of information with that I'm so curious to see is all that's going to be factored in is that $80 physical cart. And so even the bundle won't be factored in because that would technically be a digital sale, I believe.
I think it will still take it over Death Stranding. I think there's enough people out there that would buy it with a cartridge. Surely.
I, w- I wonder if more people bought Rematch than Death Stranding.
I don't think more people bought it. I think more people played it. I'd assume in the
Right.
grand scheme of things. Because it's not even really cheap either, is it? It's a
$30.
yeah, that's still pretty steep, especially because with the amount of comparison that we draw it to Rocket League, and Rocket League is free to play. That's a when if you're not opting in on Game Pass and stuff like that, that's a pretty steep asking for something that's so early and has a lot of issues. So
You want my bold prediction for next month?
go ahead.
C- Cyberpunk 2077 top 20. That physical release on Switch too.
Yeah, that'd be fascinating. I want to know how much that does sell. I really do because they didn't they. It's meant to be selling pretty well, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when them stats end up actually coming out and you see it in its placement, I'd assume it's doing really solidly.
I really hope so, man. I'm gonna go on a full rant about physical media and the power and the this and the that and
The
all this horse
power
shit
of
when I'm
720p, baby. Let's go. Gotta love it.
um Spider-Man 2 is the 20th best-selling game of the year. That is genuinely fucking insane. Uh
You say it's the 20th.
the 20th, dude.
Sticking in there,
Um
Spidey.
am I okay? It's the only single player game on this list? Am I crazy? Okay, Doom. Doom is single player. Yeah, Doom doesn't have multiplayer this year, right? Totally single player.
Yeah, but neither does Oblivion.
Oh, duh. Fuck yeah. Oblivion right there at the top. My dumbass. What the fuck am I saying? Shadows doesn't have multiplayer? Yeah, I'm fucking R-worded. Um,
How many?
I
So how many is that? Because that's top 20, right? That's what, 5 games single player, or are there more?
one, two. Kingdom comes in there too. What the fuck am I saying? Yeah, I'm an idiot. One, two,
I'd be
three,
happy with 8 being single player.
four. Yeah, five.
Oh,
So
a quarter.
still impressive though.
Yeah.
Not only did it's what I will say, I here I go just on the fly with my dumbass numbers. I think it's the only game on this list, single player game on this list that did not release in 2025. Oblivion released in 2025, Shadows in 2025, Kingdom Come 2 in 2025,
Hmm.
Dark Ages in 2025, and then Spider-Man 2. And it wasn't even a 2024 game. It was a 2023 game. That's fucking crazy, man.
Kudos to Insomniac. As I said, sticking in there, Spidey.
Let's see. Forza Horizon 5 is already the 12th. Yeah. The 12th best selling game of 2025. That is fucking crazy. So when it released, it topped out as the 20th best selling game of 2021.
Hmm.
And so we're 4 years later and it's already at number 12.
Yeah, it's
God,
why.
man.
Like, I know that when this is stirring the pot, we're going retreading ground, but it's why the thing of like I said, with Sony, it's you think of so many IPs that you have that are very, very, very successful that you could just ship on another platform and just get that kind of that second life, and it is the temptation is there. Um,
I wonder though where. Like, where do you put it to get that second life? Because they're doing it with Steam and
I
they're
wouldn't.
having some success.
Do you know what I found kind of crazy when I was thinking about it as well? Is why didn't they make their own PC platform?
All right.
Why was that never a thing? Because you're talking Epic made their own, and like they're not rivaling Steam, but they found their niche. If you were to lock down your Sony exclusives solely onto a Sony launcher,
Day
like
one.
people buy Uplay games and stuff like that for Ubisoft. You would be able to 100% recoup everything. You wouldn't have to share. Still, technically, that still would just be like, yeah, that's still us.
Yeah.
That never made sense to me. I never really understood why they never did that. I don't know if that was ever
Yeah.
a thought that entered your mind.
And then they could launch it there day one, not having to really worry
Exactly.
about like, having to share split revenue
Precisely.
or anything.
Precisely.
Yeah. That's so yeah, we'll check back in with this next month. A lot of
Mm.
really, really going to be curious about those Mario Kart numbers. But I want to real quick, man. I want to get your thoughts on the Expanse game by Owlcat. They some new details have emerged. They did a Q&A, and then I haven't really talked to you much about this Expanse game from Owlcat. I know that's like one of your favorite developers on the block. So uh I just yeah, quick overview
Hmm.
thoughts on the game before we kind of dive in. How do you feel about Owlcat taking this more I don't know, slightly mainstream approach for this Expanse game, or is this something you're in favor of? Or are you kind of wishing they would stick with the CRPG roots? How are you feeling?
No, it's the thing of the whole point of this is to break out into mainstream, isn't it?
Yeah.
You look at Larian and stuff like that, and they made very niche games for a very long time. You had like Divinity Dragon Commander that came out in like the past 10, 15 years and stuff like that. And look at where they are now. Like this is the whole point. Like you build off of your previous successes. Like Pathfinder did really, really well for them for what it was. They then went and did Rogue Trader, which arguably dwarfed Wrath of the Righteous, which I still hold the belief that that's still the best CRPG if we're talking mechanics and stuff like that. Like it's stellar. So them going this next route, it's commendable. It's definitely going to be risky for them because having
Expensive as fuck.
have it. It's not even just about it being expensive as fuck. This is Owlcat. Like a lot of people haven't followed them to the degree that I have. Every 1.0 release of their games have been dreadful. You're talking
Mm.
extremely, extremely buggy, especially on console. I can't speak of it on PC. This is me speaking entirely on console. You have a lot more of a forgiving fan base with CRPGs because we have to just deal with it. There aren't all that
Yeah.
many of them. You're talking this is going to be in that realm of Mass Effect and Starfield and stuff like that. Of just that's the kind of market that they want to tap into. They are not as forgiving, especially with a lot of people
No.
not going to be knowing who their name is. They cannot drop the ball with this. That's my big worry is that they're going to take this big bite off of their success, and if this blows up in their face, I really really hope that they did what Larian did and made a big dragon's treasure trove of money to be able to fall back on. And I hope that they haven't poured that all into this because if this goes wrong for them, it's very very bad. But for the game itself, I'm really interested in seeing it because we obviously had that Expanse game from what Telltale and
Yeah.
whoever that other developer was and stuff. Don't really care for the series with that being my first interaction with it, but where they're talking about when they were talking about their inspirations, it's our team grew up playing Mass Effect and we love that. That's
Yeah.
something you want to hear when they're doing something like this.
Absolutely. I'll hit some of the beats that they addressed in the Q&A real quick, and then just kind of get your
Cool.
breakdown on everything. Let's see. It would be impossible to deny that Mass Effect has had an impact on us as a team, but we're not trying to replicate it. Other systems were introduced since Mass Effect. Players are now accustomed to a lot more convenient user interface, convenient approaches to the gameplay, and we're doing that and not like modernizing Mass Effect, but just making a game in the same genre but with all the modern trappings. So let's pause there for a second. I mean, this sounds like what they should be doing, looking at Mass Effect, taking the influence and understanding, like, yeah, we want to do that, but as Mass Effect's one of my favorite games of all time. It's definitely outdated for sure. Maybe not so much like Mass Effect 2 and 3, but even then, yeah, of course there's touch-ups in terms of quality of life things that need to be introduced in 2025. People would, once again, you're talking about a very unforgiving audience, the Western role-playing market. That fan base does not the there's not much tolerance for uh,
No,
slightly,
no. I'll even
yeah.
put my hands up. Look at you were very very pleased with Starfield. I was not because we critique them under a completely different lens. Which when you take that step back, yeah, is probably a little bit unfair. But it's you want it to be as best as it possibly can be. And when other teams have replicated that a lot better, and especially with Bethesda, they've had much more stronger showings as a complete product in the past than what Starfield offered, in my opinion. So hence why, I was harsh on it and still am.
Would it be would it be fair to say that there's more all-time great games in this genre than any other genre? Like at least in the last, I don't know, 20 years or so? Because I think that might be where a lot of the criticism comes from, where it's like fans are just used to fucking great shit in this sphere. And so it's all being compared against other really great shit in this sphere.
Yeah, arguably so. I would probably argue as well with JRPGs. They kind of
Hmm.
get you're talking like there's huge things that they accomplish that still get swept under the rug because people just don't pay attention to them. I think if you're talking like sheer numbers, yeah, obviously they're a bigger player base with the Western RPGs and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that would be a true statement.
I definitely would say JRPGs for sure from like the 80s to late 90s into the early 2000s. I think probably the last maybe 20 years might be pushing it. I think last 10 to 15 there's definitely, but there's also been this resurgence of the JRPG within like the last
Yeah,
3 to 5 years as
yeah.
well. So it's like,
They're from
yeah,
I'd probably say like 2008 up until it started gaining traction again. That's kind of like a big shaky era where I don't
yeah.
think they knew they it almost felt like they were going through what the Western RPG is going through now, where it's like we don't know how to balance budgets, we don't know how to balance
Hmm.
everything to get it where it needs to be,
Right.
um, and that's going to be like again interesting to see if Owlcat can manage to do that.
Yeah. This is kind of course going to be our bread and butter right here. The Expanse will have many choices and consequences and room for a lot of agency. Nuance is important in the story. Players won't be forced to completely be good or a total sociopath. Choices will have varying effects, especially on companions. You don't have to throw a shot there. They threw a stray at my boy Shepard. He's not a total sociopath. He's a good guy. He's just a renegade, as one would say, as Eminem and Jay-Z would say. Um, your background choice as an Earther, Martian, or Belter affects the way you're treated by companions and NPCs. You will not be welcomed as an Earther or Martian on Ceres, for example. Let's see. You would be much more welcome there playing as a Belter, more opportunities, more places to visit, new side quests, etc. On the other hand, if you are of another origin, there will be other opportunities and other places for you to explore. So, this is shit that you and I always talk about. I love that type of shit. Just have, even if it's, listen, this sounds very grand and very like large in scale and thought and the complexity that could come with it. Like that's, your mind starts going a million different places. But literally just having, anytime I see in a dialogue wheel an option based on my background, it's like, yes, you're accounting for fucking something that I chose in that first menu. Like just little things like that are so satisfying.
I mean, I'll stroke their ego. They Wrath of the Righteous accomplished this, and this is before like they did like reworks to even further lean into that. But you're talking like entire, how would you describe it? The mythic path thing. You had entire branching consequences to the overall entire story for certain stuff that would change entire outcomes of companions and stuff. So if anybody can do it, it's them because they've done it. They did it in Wrath of the Righteous. They did it really well as well in Rogue Trader with a lot of stuff that they've done. So it's probably easier to do with a CRPG than it is when it's this many moving parts. But
For sure.
they, I don't see them missing completely. This is going to be like they're either it'll be on par with New Vegas. That will be my vote of confidence of that kind of level of that's the level of choice that they do master. They're very good at it.
It says here your twin sibling will also be on board, and they may or
Oh
may not
no,
agree with the.
Mass Effect Andromeda flashbacks.
Oh damn! Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. And they may or may not agree with the choices made by you as a player. It's always nice to have a little bit of that infighting on the ship with your companions and all that. There's multiple romance companions among the ship crew, so you're out there going to be doing some space boning and all the things you expect from your Mass
Making it
Effect
onto news
styled experience.
stations about how video games are sin, like good old Mass Effect. Oh, the nostalgia.
Oh man. But yeah, dude, I'm really excited for this, and I just kind of wanted to talk to you about it for a second. I know this wasn't like a big news story that popped up, but I saw it and I was like, damn, I kind of want to get Loon's overall thoughts on it. So you're like, yeah, this is what you're kind of wanting the
You
direction
you loved Starfield. This is gonna blow it out of the water. And like maybe not 1.0. This is what I wanted to caveat. Like they release things very broken. Owlcat is kind of their thing, and unfortunately, they haven't proven me wrong thus far. But if they can get that kind of worked out, and it comes out in a lot better of a state, that'll do them the world of good. But they will make a better RPG than Starfield across the board.
Yeah.
Maybe the
And
like the thing that Starfield will edge it in is the obviously the ship crafting and stuff like
of
that.
course.
Everything else, it won't hold a candle to.
And that's kind of all that shit is what I didn't really love about Starfield, the 1,000,000,000 planets and make this, craft this,
Yep.
do like, I just like the story. So like in Mass Effect, I love just space role playing games. So I'm really, really, really excited to jump into this thing. And not to like shit on Starfields for like I do think that some of the some of that customization stuff is cool and the ship combat's much better than I ever expected it to be. And like yeah, I
Mhm.
really enjoyed that game. So really, 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 really quick here. Quick story, quick prediction. That Porsche, the ship you see in Intergalactic at the very beginning of the trailer, I I've said this before. I'm gonna double fucking down. I'm putting all of my chips on this. You're gonna be able to fly that ship in the game. So Neil Druckmann ordered a custom made. This is gonna sound like such conspiracy horseshit. Like as I'm reading this fucking thread here, I'm like, what the fuck
Nope, let's
did I?
go. Lean into the crazy. Let's hear it.
Neil Druckmann ordered a. I can't even say this with a straight face. Neil Druckmann ordered a custom made Lego build of the ship, the same ship that we see in the opening, the Porsche ship, from a custom builder called Two Bricks, and they have this video on YouTube going through the building process of this Porsche, spaceship thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been my theory for a while. I think I've told you this before. I think you're going to be able to pilot that ship. And I'm not saying full planetary exploration. Like, I think you're just going to have certain sections where you're in control of that ship. Naughty Dog has a history of developing games where you can, like, drive or fly vehicles. And then they kind of abandoned it with
Yeah.
The Last of Us. But if you even think back to Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy, you could drive the Jeep. But, dude, you think back a little bit further,
Jack 2,
Jack
right?
2,
That's what I was about to say.
yes.
Jack 2.
And that's flying fucking cars.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And I have all these different kind of. So you go back to Crash. You have airplanes and hovercrafts and cars and motorcycles and jet ski, like all this shit, right? So like they have a history with love for vehicle sort of integration, vehicular combat, vehicular integration into their games in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're looking at this studio in particular, and you're like, how do you do what you do? Like, they're one of those studios that is put on that kind of pedestal of a top five game developers in the world. You got your, I guess you can't really throw Nintendo as a whole in there, but let's just say Nintendo, uh, Larian would probably be on there now. FromSoft would probably be on there now. Like you have some of those top dogs, and every time they release a game, a CDPR would probably be on there at this point. Anytime they release a game, one of the fucking Rockstar, of course, like you're gonna have those expectations are through the roof from the fan base, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, what is the thing? What is going to be the thing? You gotta, it can't just be a linear space game. You're fucking Naughty Dog. We don't expect, we expect something crazy from this experience that we've never seen before in your games. And it's been a decade since we've controlled a fucking vehicle. Wait, there wasn't a vehicle in The Last of Us 2, was there? Was there a Jeep in The Last of Us 2?
You ride in the back of one. I don't think you
Okay.
drive it.
Yeah, I was thinking that Seattle section. No, because you're on foot. That's what makes it feel
You go
so
on a
fucking long.
horse.
Yeah, horse, all right. Um, so yeah, it's just like a decade of not having a vehicle in a Naughty Dog game. And by the time it comes out, it'll probably be longer than a decade. This will probably be a 2030 game. I don't know. It'll probably be 2028, 2029. But
So
I think you might be able to fly that motherfucker.
you're obviously this is a thing that this is much more like we just did with the Expanse. Owlcat game is much more in my realm. This is definitely much more in your realm. I will give you. I don't think it's as big of a a conspiracy as you think because you're talking. Your main character sits in the pilot seat. It's not like a Mass Effect where Joker's the pilot and Shepard's the captain. Like she clearly is going to be flying it, like
Right.
narratively as a character. So why not even just as a gimmick? Have it be where you travel from planet to planet and you can just fly through. Like even if it's just something as simple as that, it doesn't
Yeah.
even need to have like combat and stuff like that. Because that's where I pause a little bit. Car manufacturers don't even like you scuffing up their paint in car games. I don't think they're gonna like the thought of someone shooting at the back of a Porsche. Um, I think that could be a little bit muddy potentially. Um, but that's just me playing it very safe. There's been a lot of car manufacturers where they're like, no, you can't have any car destruction physics because that makes us look bad. It's like, no, it doesn't really. It'd probably make your game sell a lot better, but you do you.
So I'll hit you with another theory.
Okay. He ordered a
When
second Legos.
I watched the building process of that Lego Porsche spaceship. Guess what that motherfucker attached to that spaceship?
I assume weapons of some sort.
Weapons on that bitch. I think you are. I think you're going to have some dogfighting. I'm not saying full, once again, not full planetary open fucking Starfield style exploration, or even I don't even think it'll be something on par with Outlaws, but something that's like these cool ass,
No,
very
like
linear.
the Uncharted 4 section of the car, where it's a slice of the game, I think, is where you'd probably get, right?
Even think about something like Final Fantasy 16, where I don't want to spoil anything, but some of those moments where you're doing some flying, and that was in the trailers. I'll just say that. Like some of that shit, dude. Imagine a ultra tight linear section, old school Tomb Raider, James Bond on the
Mm.
motorcycle, but like it's just a little linear thing where you're just seeing some badass shit pop off in this dope ass red Porsche, and you got your guns firing, and there's explosions. You're jumping out of the ship onto another ship. Like I don't know, man.
That's just
That's
PlayStation's bread and butter, though. That kind of like set piece thing. You think like even Spider-Man with that whole thing of like them types of set pieces are the things that they make sure are in their games.
yeah,
That aren't like, and this is going to be me taking a slap to Xbox. They don't bother with that kind of feeling, like in a Halo game. They don't. They want you to make them kind of situations yourself, but it's always in game, like and like with Halo Infinite and stuff. You're the one grapple hooking stuff and throwing stuff. Whereas with PlayStation, they put you more on rails with some of these cool badass things, but they make you feel like you're fully in control. And a lot of
yeah.
people prefer that because it's cool. It's cinematic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally down for both. I like both styles a lot. I had a lot of those moments in Indiana Jones, where you make your own cool ass fucking thing, or like Star Wars Outlaws that I talked about, where I threw the grenade and walked back like a slow walk off kind of fucking Joker after he blows up the hospital. Like
Oh yeah,
you can make
yeah.
some of those, and
But
but it's
then
cool to have them
with
like
the plane section in indie stuff like that.
right, right, right.
That
Yep,
when it's
yeah,
more
perfect.
on rails and stuff like that. That immediately when I think because I didn't love it as much as you. That stuck with me much more than some of the other stuff when you're exploring around and doing the stuff yourself. Because to me, it came off a bit goofy sometimes with how things when you're trying to interact with the world and they don't always click together. When it is on rails, you have full control over that. Therefore, you have full control over the cinematic aspect, and that's why they become iconic moments, like that chase scene
1000%.
in Uncharted and stuff like that. If they gave you full control over that, it wouldn't be as memorable for a lot of people because it wouldn't be as scripted and therefore as perfectly executed as it could possibly be.
The crazy thing about that Uncharted 4 section though is like because whenever I went back and replayed it, and I was really stunned by the amount of control that you do have.
Yeah, they
Like
give you
you,
several like routes that you can take to try and give
yeah,
leniency to the player. Yeah.
exactly. And that's kind of like the perfect balance to me, where it's like I can, do something different and see something slightly different, but you are propelling me forward to see a cool ass fucking scenario regardless of how it ends up turning out, whatever route I take.
Yeah.
And then there are certain sections in that Uncharted 4 where they really, really scope it in and make it a restricted sort of experience. But yeah, it's yeah, I think you're going to be flying around in a damn spaceship soon. So keep your eyes peeled on Intergalactic 2029.
Oh yeah.
Um, I don't know, maybe 2028. I don't know why I always shit on that game by saying 2029, 2030. I have no idea when it's going to come out. I just don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
I think it'll be a launch
Ghost,
title for PS6.
yeah, I man, well, we can get into that here. Ghost of Yotei. We got a gameplay deep dive for Ghost of Yotei. Loon, you haven't seen this yet, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap our perspective over to kind of like the stacked vertical with the gameplay running over here, so that Loon can kind of get a real time reaction to Ghost of Yotei. And then we're not going to turn it into like a full blown reaction thing. I'll sit here and kind of talk about the game with Loon as he watches it, and we just sort of go over everything. But yeah, I will give you my quick overall thoughts
So I'll start running
before
it now,
we.
so it can start
Yeah,
running.
that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah. Um, I think it looks really, really good. I think it looks fantastic. I It definitely looks more like Ghost of Tsushima, with they're really wanting to hammer home more agency, more player freedom, a more customizable experience. And that sounds great. Ghost of Tsushima was my game of the year in 2020. So to me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just go in there and tweak it responsibly, which it seems like that's what they're doing. So I don't really have like any major gripes other than one which we'll get to towards the end of this rant, but I love that it seems that they're kind of sticking with the philosophy of art style and art direction as the main focus over the hyperfixation on photorealism, which to me that's the correct choice for Sucker Punch. That's why you get a game out in 5 years and it doesn't take you a decade to
Yeah.
release a game. Um, and listen, I don't want to like say environmentally this thing is stunning. Like it's absolutely stunning. You're seeing the mist form on the mountains and the steam coming off the water, and it does have like some of that in terms of the environmental detail, the photorealism that you would expect. But I think directionally from an art design standpoint, you're just talking about some of the most well configured positions of like contrasting color schemes, pairing together so beautifully in some of these shots. Like there's one where it's a kind of a deep red field of flowers, and I think it was like a snowy environment. It's the location, the kind of snowy white backdrop, and just that visual flair of the dark red contrasting with the very, very uh I don't know what the white I'm looking for, but that snowy white sort of backdrop, just beautiful, man. Um, I Character modeling once again, as we talked about just a second ago, it's not this massive leap forward in my opinion from like a motion capture standpoint or like facial animations and just character design in general. It's not like S tier mind blowing shit, but it doesn't need to be.
I was about to say that's choosing consciously to make that choice is going to save them. I would assume millions in the
Oh
grand
yeah,
scheme. That's the thing of like we don't need. That's why I've always been that you don't need to have everything be at the top because as long as the art direction is strong enough, it can cover up them cracks. And that's what this, the same with the original Ghost of Tsushima. The art direction was so strong that that's forgivable if it's not at the peak of its thing. And even then, I don't even think it. I didn't think the facial animations and lip sync and stuff like that was particularly weak in Ghost of Tsushima. It's the thing of we give praise to Ubisoft for crafting really well developed worlds and they look pretty. Their characters look atrocious.
yep.
The world looks very, very gorgeous, and the characters look incredible as well. Um, it's yeah, it and it seems to be the same thing. Like the combat looks gritty, very good flowing, and the lighting as well. I really like the lighting of both the games from what I've seen of this and of when I played Tsushima. Like just they know how to control the setting. They know exactly what to, make sure that when you're doing a mission and stuff like that, and it's, dark, wet, moody, and stuff like that. Like they seem to be masters of that. Don't
And
know.
to your point with Tsushima, listen, this looks better than Tsushima, of course. I'm not about to go into that, but I will say I do think that Tsushima looks better than 95% of like PlayStation 5, Series X, PC 2025 releases. Like Tsushima is beautiful, man. And
Mm.
something I was thinking about while watching this trailer, because we're at this point, we're over halfway through the generation. We need to stop thinking about PlayStation 6. Like, this game is fucking gorgeous. Yotei is gorgeous. But is it like 15% more beautiful than Tsushima? 20%? Like, it's not, it doesn't feel next generation. It doesn't feel like it's something that is, you know, we're gonna burn down our PlayStation 5 and we need to rush to get that PlayStation 6 so we can run this next generation, the next generation again. Like I think we need to lock in with this PS5 for a little bit and just get more experiences on offer that are really utilizing this technology. Um, and that's not me saying the game looks bad. It looks fucking gorgeous. It does. But I think whenever we're at a point 5 years plus into this generation, and I can say Tsushima looks better than 95% of the games on offer, let's pause before we get to the next generation. Because if we're talking about 5 years into the PlayStation 6 generation and Tsushima still looks better than most of those games, why are we continuing to create new hardware? Would be my question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that sentiment. I think as well, though, it's the thing of every now and then you get these developers that just are masters of their craft. And I'm thinking of, because you're talking, I'm sure you've seen it, you played it as well. The Death Stranding 1 to 2 comparisons. Holy shit, that's night and day different.
Right.
That's the kind of level that should feel when you're talking about this is released on this platform, that released on that platform. Right now, it looks like longer draw distances for this is something that I'm noticing. But they
Oh yeah.
mastered a lot of the stuff in Tsushima. Like it's almost like they were too good with that first one. The ceiling can only go so much higher. I don't know what else they could do to push this. Um,
Yeah.
because it's the type of thing of where we talked about it earlier on with what do you call it, like timelessness and stuff like that. And you're talking about something like World of Warcraft doesn't feel like, if you were to look at it, it's not as aged poorly as many other games that try to do photorealism. This is doing photorealism but stylized, and this is going to make it immortalized because of that. This is never going to look old. This is never going to look bad, and that's the same with Ghost of Tsushima. So that's something that this is Sucker Punch, right? So who did
Yep.
this? Masters of their craft for that. I got to give them the tip of the hat. Very, 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 very good at just fine attention to detail.
Yeah. And so obviously we're running pretty long here. We're not going to go over every single detail, but we'll kind of just break this down a little bit here. One of the cool features that they're touting is that you can return to your childhood with just the push of a button during the course of the game. So it's kind of like that Ratchet, Titanfall insta portal swap thing where you go from one world to a new world, but it's like kind of adding narrative context this time around, which is interesting.
Something that they trumpeted as marketing show and rarely used it this generation.
Right.
That's crazy.
Well, it's the crazy thing about it is like it's not even that they've barely used it. They've barely released any game to use it,
Mm.
because they did use it in Ratchet, they did use it in Spider-Man 2, but Spider-Man 2 is kind of our last big blockbuster. I know that's crazy to think about, but and I guess they used it a little bit in Astro as well, but those Spider-Man 2 is like the last big blockbuster PlayStation first party release. Because Death Stranding 2, I appreciate that's not a Ghost, it's not a Spider-Man, it's not a God of War, it's not a Horizon, it's not on those levels. Um, it's big, it's expensive, but it's not like it's not tens of million. Well, I guess it Death Stranding did end up selling tens of millions of copies, I guess. So yeah, I guess it's somewhere in that camp as well. Um, let's see. They are touting they're focusing more on player freedom than any Sucker Punch game that has ever come before. Exploration, there is going to be a card clue system that invites you to different areas of the game. I I like this idea of the card system. I think it's going to I don't know, but I get the feeling when I look at it that it's pretty much just going to be like a main quest, main kind of side quest, like companion quest, and then filler kind of side quest. Like I don't think it's going to be. I don't think these cards are going to be as revolutionary as maybe they're trying to tout it. But once again, I don't. It's if it ain't broke, don't fucking fix it. And they were talking about more kind of, oh, I'm seeing this thing off in the distance and I'm going to mark it, I'm going to go to it, and they have like on the map you have these little pieces that you can use and you can stamp them to the map and it's kind of like Atom Fall where you get information, you get clues, and then you go to your map and you place the marker yourself. I really love that style of thing where it's not this nebulous, so I have no idea where the fuck I'm going, but it is a little bit more involved of you actually taking the step and placing the thing on the map and then tracking it that way. Um, let's see here. Yeah, oh, this is a cool little bit. It's you can interrogate enemies in the world and you know, kind of there'll be different some of the you can ask about the people who killed your family and try to get more information that way. And let's see here, encountering different enemy types and learning new abilities from investigating these areas. So once again, when you're in those encounters, I'm assuming there will be some scenario where after you interrogate them and you're kind of looking around their campsite and you're gaining more clues and shit like that. Um,
Yeah, like a
Ats-
Ghost Recon Wildlands and what do you call it? Phantom Pain thing where you're able to interrogate. I think it's probably going to be a lot better executed, at least,
hmm.
and not be feeling so sandboxy. I would hope they seem to put a lot into immersion and making sure that that doesn't become disruptive and noticeable. It needs to feel natural, which I think they'll probably manage to do that. But yeah, that's a good addition.
Yeah. The main character Atsu can hunt down her own bounties and confront unique enemies, making money as a mercenary. So there's like different kind of Witcher esque sort of scenarios where you're going through and it's like, oh well, shit, I'm going to take on this bounty and I'm going to go and make some money. So it's like kind of adding to the in-game economy a little bit more that way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can use slides as a quick way to traverse the environment. Uh, do, do, do. And then that's the thing. You have that spyglass to find points of interest in the world, and the funny thing, they have these fields of flowers where when you're riding the horse, if you're in the fields of flowers, like if you're riding the horse appropriately through these fields of flowers, it gives your horse a boost. So your horse is like taking off, fucking running like a
Oh,
nos boost as you're in the fields of flowers. Fucking ridiculous, but funny. Um.
that's so.
Okay. Here.
That's I just want to because it just showed part of that in the. That's so clever as well because it allows them for you to plow through them flowers. It's kicking it up. It's making it so artistic, and you're also being
Yeah.
rewarded as the player for not just having that as like, oh, that looks fun to do, and that looks beautiful. It's giving you the boost of like you said, speed. So again, it's just like I said, master their craft.
Yeah, man. And yeah, it's seeing like the fucking the flowers fly up in there and just the
Mm,
effects. It's like it adds just a little bit of visual sort of flavor
flair.
to those. Yeah. This is probably the thing that stood out the most to me. So you have a bunch of different fucking weapon types in this game: a katana, a spear, a sarigami, I believe is how you say it. listen, I'm horrible with the names, Odachi or dual swords. But you can swap between all these weapons on the fly with just D-pad presses, like you're fucking Leon swapping between your damn shotguns and your revolvers and your. I love that quick swap ability for your weapons and just getting into the flow with a different weapon. Which all of these weapons are actually important in the game, where each weapon is uniquely effective against specific enemies with upgrades to master. Players can focus on their preferred playstyle, like stealth, ranged, or melee, or a combination of each. And there was a moment where Atsu pulled out a damn like ball chain weapon thing, and then pulled a fucking enemy. She was like in stealth, and she pulled a damn scorpion from Mortal Kombat. They goddamn get over here and drug the enemy to her in stealth, and kind of separated him from his pack, and was able to go in and take on people one on one. I That's the style of thing that I I'm glad that they focus on this area for Yotei, opposed to, because those are the decisions you have to make, like adding in more freedom, more agency for the player in terms of the gameplay and combat experience. Or are we going to make this an ultra cinematic, the craziest motion capture, the craziest facial animations you've ever seen? I love that they chose this direction.
Yep.
And let's see. So, oh yeah, cool. This is a dope ass bit. You can lose your weapon during a fight, and enemies can switch weapons mid fight. So you have to, you kind of got to adapt mid fight depending on what is the best weapon of choice in that moment, or if you have a weapon at all. But the sick thing is that you can also make the enemy lose their weapon. So if you're, using the right attacks and all the right weapon combinations and shit, the enemy's weapon can go flying. So that makes me think about all those dope ass movies where the big action piece is you're in a fight, the weapon, the weapon that you're using, the enemy knocks it out of your hand, and then you're standing there with nothing, you're completely defenseless, unarmed, and the enemy is still attacking and they got their weapon, and then you last second you counter it and kick it out of their hand, and then y'all are like fighting on the ground going to try to grab the weapon, and then you grab it last second, stab it through that motherfucker's neck before he can get to it. Like those style of moments, I hope that
Yeah,
that's
like Jackie
available
Chan
in.
set pieces, or like a lot of movies that
Right.
he's in, where it's just it looks silly sometimes, but it is the thing. If you're in a fight and you're scrambling, like that is the type of thing that can happen. Like you end up losing grip, you drop stuff, and it's just you're trying your best to get through that fight, and that yeah, that's cool that they've allowed that to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a what do you call it? A step up from Arthur losing his hat. Now now you can lose your weapon.
Right,
It's
right.
the next
Yeah.
logical step. Next will be don't know what we'll be losing next.
Chop off arm or two. Um, let's see. Range weapons include bows and arrows, kunai, bombs, and rifles. And they have like a full blown third person shooting system in this game. Like you can see Atsu, she pulls out the damn rifle, and then there's a full blown crosshair that pops up, and she darts the enemy in the head and drops that motherfucker. But I love how they set up that scene where Atsu, she one shot kills this dude with a rifle from a distance, but it was right before like a big boss fight. So you're kind of able to
Mm.
clean up some of the enemies around the big boss and then just go one on one with him. Um, and then there's a section where she's like tossing blinding powder at the enemies to give yourself a quick little edge, buy yourself some time, throw some fucking blinding power in that motherfucker's face. Let's see.
Ooh, that controller.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think about that controller?
I
It
I've
kind of looks
never
like dirt.
I've never been one to like want to collect control, or in this case like faceplates as well for stuff. They've never been something for me, but there are. I think I like that. That white and gold was, or assume that's gold. White and
Yeah.
gold looks really good for me.
Yeah. I love the white and gold combo, but like the splattering of it, I'm like, the it kind of looks like dirt or something. But I'm sure once you get it close up, it'll look much better. Also, shout out for those consoles that they showed. They the both of the consoles on that thing were both physical variants.
Mm.
So it's like the one with the disc on there. So hopefully it's a solid physical release because Death Stranding 2 was complete on disc and uh it's a big ass game. So hopefully this kind of keeps that trend up. Let's see. Trying to make sure that there's nothing big that I'm missing here.
Damn, that was already 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's they had a lot of fucking info on this. Just most of this is kind of talking about like so customization. You have you can upgrade armors and gear, charms, different, color palettes you can choose from. And once again, this is just really emphasizing the player freedom and kind of building your Atsu the way you see fit. And there's gear that caters to range battle and up close melee and stealth and kind of avoiding battle at all costs. And then, uh, they obviously have the skill progression paths and all that shit for whichever you want to take. But the cool bit at the end, I don't know if you saw that where the composer Tama Arawa crafted the musical score to combine Eastern instrumentation with Western flavors, a collaboration of a multitude of artists. And then it kind of goes into, it shows the full Japanese voiceover and lip sync that is available with subtitles. So I think this is the first. With Tsushima, I think they had full Japanese dub, but the lip sync was a little bit funky. If I'm not I think it tracked like the English VO, and I think that was like a major complaint back in the day, where people were like, "Well, we would like to
Yeah,
have."
it's something that's obviously very difficult to do. Um, because this here's your little nugget of game trivia. They did the same thing with Final Fantasy X when they ended up porting it to the West and stuff. Where the lips move and stuff like that, it's to track the Japanese, the way that they're speaking. So they had to actually cut down what they were writing English, I believe. So when they were translating it, it's like, well, his mouth's no longer moving, and they're not willing to reanimate that. So we need to just be very brief in what we say and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's something that is very difficult to get right. So if they've made sure to cover both of them, that's really really good on their part. Expensive but good.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kurosawa mode is returning. It's got the black and white film, the sort of the film grain and the
Yeah,
the
and the increased wind effect. That's all. That's it's
yeah,
so atmospheric.
yeah,
Very good.
absolutely. But it's also like I don't know if I would ever play it. The color is such an important part of Tsushima Yotei. Like I want to see that bitch maybe in a replay or something like that. It'd be dope to just kind of hop in and out of something like that.
It's just nice to have it because it's how a lot of old school samurai movies. Because it was a director, right? Is what did that kind of style. I believe is where that's from. It's nice that they've put that in as a nod. Again, it's being them going into a culture and respecting that and being like, yeah, we'll put a nod to that, not tying that behind as well a paywall as well. Because I think they did this in the first game as well, right? They offered that as an option where it's the black and
Yeah.
white. Like,
Yeah.
kudos, man.
Yeah, and then there's a two more on here as well. A Mikkei mode has been added, partnering with Takeshi Mikkei, director of 13 Assassins, which brings the camera closer during combat with increased mud and blood splatter.
Hmm.
And this is definitely a mode I'll for sure be hopping into and check out, as well as the Watanabe mode, the director of Samurai Champloo. It's a lo-fi sort of, you got like lo-fi beats that are playing during exploration and combat. So some chill like hip hop in the background as you're roaming around and fucking like shit. Yeah, sounds sick. And once again, all of them completely free. So
Oh yeah.
good on you, Sucker Punch. Yeah, those are the main kind of beats there. And once again, shout out to Shinobi for providing the data
Yep.
for providing the roundup so I could go through and hit all of those major beats there without forgetting any of the big stuff. But one thing I didn't talk about, which you might not have caught on to because skipped over everything regarding the story. And that's my worry. I watched this and I was waiting for like what is the thing that's going to get me hooked into this story. I didn't really get that from this state of play. Like I like the whole Kill Bill sort of angle and yeah, but I just played Assassin's Creed Shadows and it was almost the exact same sort of revenge tale and go and kill this in any order you want. And like I don't know.
Yeah, that's how Tsushima was as well, though, right? It was a revenge tale per se kind of thing. It's very, I don't know where else you can really take it.
Right.
Um, they'd have to really, really brush up on like Japanese history and get into like the nitty gritty weeds of political things and stuff. And even then, it probably would have come down to just a very revenge conflict. It's just easy to write a story like that. So I don't throw them under the bus too hard for that. Um, Again, with Tsushima doing so well, like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's just
Yeah.
unfortunate that I think this is going to do well. I think it's going to do fine. I just hope that there is obviously the very small percentage chance that this ends up getting the Neo 2 treatment where Sekiro came out first and kind of makes it a little bit obsolete for a while and be slept on because people are already sinking their teeth in something like that. So hopefully that doesn't become the case. I don't think it will because Sony's name pulls in a different light than what Team Ninja I think is Neo. They
Yeah,
don't have that same pull, so I think people still will stick with it. It's just like you said, with that worry is going to be a worry of a lot of people. They've already sunk their teeth into a Japanese revenge story thing. It's going to be a better game, I'm assuming overall.
for sure.
But do you want to jump in and prioritize that in a in an era where we're struggling with money? I'm not saying for you. I'm saying like the general consumer. You know, if you've already had
Right.
shadows, could you probably wait potentially and not have to rush out and get it?
I will shout out $70 sticking with that $70 price tag. So thank God not bumping into the 80 territory. Um it's Tsushima, I really thought the story was solid. Not, you know, not incredible, not like phenomenal, but really solid. But I think kind of all of Sucker Punch's stories are like Infamous 2 was really, really good. Sly 2 was solid. Infam For me, Sucker Punch just isn't like the narrative powerhouse sort of studio. So I'm not expecting like top tier, S tier fucking storytelling here. I'm expecting some fun ass gameplay, a beautiful open world, and the first one came in at like an 83 on Metacritic, and then the user score is actually 93. It's one of those rare instances where it's the
Yeah, you'll see a
you
massive bump with this. There's nowhere it's going to be below 85. So it's probably going to be about an 86, 87, I'd assume, at
yeah,
lowest.
it's crazy. That's exactly what I wrote down, 86 or 87. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, shout out. I can't wait to play it. I'll be there day one, checking it out. Faux show. Sucker Punch, one of my favorite studios in the biz. You know what, man? Let's go ahead and hop on out of here. It's been a long ass show. We had one more story, but we can save that for next week. I'm sure it's not like there's a bunch of big information in it regardless. So we'll save that for a later day. And yeah, let's get on out of here, Loon. Before we hop out, we got to shout out our shout out tiers. Our the members, the patrons, the people who jumped in to support us at that $10 shout out tier, Captain Corndog and our newest member, Sadik. Genuinely, thank you guys so fucking much for jumping in there, supporting, keeping the lights on over here at the Game and Ramble Productions house. Uh, uh, we greatly appreciate y'all for your support. And we got, let's see, what's launching on Patreon exclusively and on the YouTube membership feed exclusively. We've got the fast food ranking. It's coming up really soon. I ranked a bunch of fast foods,
Chicken tenders.
like
Couldn't
fucking
help
full blown.
himself.
I titled it X in parentheses an expert's opinion. Um, let's see. We get the so right now we have the future of Game and Ramble discussion that's available on Patreon, and for YouTube members, we have my top 10 albums of all time. And I'm gonna try this week to crank out like a top 10 movies, a top 10 television shows, some shit like that to get some more content in your feeds for you kind folks who are supporting on Patreon and through the YouTube memberships program. It's growing consistently, and we thank you very, 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 very fucking much, man. Genuinely means the world.
Yeah, thank
So
you so much for the support.
absolutely, man. Well, Loon, I have kept you hostage long enough, my friend. Appreciate your effort and your consistency with producing the show, my friend. Got any big plans for the weekend?
Um, no, recently wrapped up Dead Rising 4. I'm excited to talk about that because it is such a strange game and series as well when we get to our end of the month rankings.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, just I'm sinking my teeth into Kingdoms of Amalur, just kind of
Oh wow.
chugging along with that. I want to finish it finally. It was something that was a cross gen game for me where it came out. I remember it being one of the very few games I bought DLC for on the 360, and I was like partially for it, and then ended up obviously jumping ship. Backwards compatibility didn't exist. When you have a new console, you kind of want to be on that new console, so it kind of just fell to the wayside. So I want to finish it this time.
Yeah. I got to go pick up my copy of Tony Hawk sitting there at GameStop right now. I picked up college football yesterday. I want to go see Superman as well. I really, really want to go see Superman. I'm hearing mixed things on it, and that makes me so much more excited. Like
Mm.
I don't really because I remember hearing mixed things about the Batman, and it's like okay, that whenever I hear split opinions, I'm like, oh shit. So it's creating some kind of mixed response. That's way more interesting to me than just, especially well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying at this point because there is a certain I guess mixed whenever some people really really
Yeah,
love it.
and there is for Superman. There's a lot of people that
Yeah.
like. I've not seen it, but the way that people have described it is they wrote him in a more vulnerable. Like he's taking hits in the previous movies. He didn't really like the way they were portrayed in when it was Henry Cavill. He was just an
Yeah.
immovable force for the most part, whereas he seems very like he's actually getting the shit beat out of him, which is for me as well. I don't like Superman for that very reason. I don't like you just write something as just he's impervious to everything. So when you actually write it in that way, maybe it's not true to the character, but it makes it a lot more interesting to watch as the audience because you know that oh he's actually vulnerable. Cool. To me, that piques my interest a little bit more to the point where I'm actually
Y-
interested in checking it out. No interest in
Yeah.
any other Superman movie. I love Henry Cavill. I turned off I think Batman versus Superman. I still stand.
Yeah,
It's one of the
man.
worst films I've ever seen. Just couldn't.
Martha.
Just like fucking Christ, guys.
Golly, that was rough. Yeah, I went to theaters to see that as well. I love I love when a big movie comes out and like you don't have to do much convincing to get people in the theater to watch it. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's packed out and there's it's kind of like an experience around it where it's not just a because I went and saw Bad Boys, the latest Bad Boys movie, and that bitch was flooded. Like there were so many people in there when I went and watched it. It was it's nice to see because you don't see that often. Because
All
even
the
when I went and
Martin
watched
Lawrence
Mission,
stands coming out, being like, "Yeah, boy, let's go."
I swear, man, it was really good. I love those movies. But all right, Loon, get on out of your hair. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate all of you for watching. Thank y'all so, so, so fucking much. Like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff massively helps out the channel. My brain is melting, so I am gonna go and replenish it with some ice cream. Hope y'all are doing well. See you all very soon, Loon. I'll see you I guess this time next week. I don't think that we have any sort of Anything
No,
that we're
nothing
supposed to
planned.
record?
No.
Perfect. See you next week, my friend. See y'all very soon. Take it easy, guys. Goodbye.
See you later.